Shinde Sena, if one might say. No longer the Shinde Sena, viewers. There is one Shiv Sena, and there is now one symbol where the bow and arrow symbol of the Shiv Sena is concerned, and that belongs to the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde, and his faction. There is no faction of the Shiv Sena right now. Perception-wise, isn't this a huge blow for Uddhav Thackeray? Interesting. What now the Uddhav faction will come out and say. Understandably, they will play the emotional game of it all, where they will say that yes, you may take the symbol, you may take the name, but you cannot take the love of the people that is associated with us and with Bala Sahib Thackeray. Trust it all to play out in a big political way. But will this be a setback going forward to the BMC elections? Well, yes, because somewhere down the line where Shiv Sena is concerned, where that traditional symbol of bow and arrow, which is practically burnt into the memory space of any Shiv Sainik or the cadre or those who've been voting for the Shiv Sena. So yes, in that aspect, it will be a blow. I want to get in my colleague Aishwarya, who's tracking the Election Commission. What's interesting, Aishwarya, now is, and what's the word you have on it, will the date of the BMC elections be announced soon now?
But it looks like it, because this is what both the factions were desperately waiting for. They wanted that this thing should be out of the way. We did see how the Uddhav Thackeray faction was in fact arguing in front of the Election Commission, saying that they need to wait for the Supreme Court's order. The Election Commission, however, had very clearly said that the symbols order is completely different from the case that the Supreme Court is hearing, because of which we are seeing this very detailed 78-page order that has been given by the ECI. The ECI has also given out the history of whenever they have dealt with these kind of issues.
Give us the past precedents. Give us the past precedents when a similar case like this has taken place, and then the symbol and the name of the party has gone to a particular party.
Well, in the if we talk about 2017, this took place. Chirag Papaswan, the case is still being heard by the Election Commission. We also saw how the OPS-EPS faction, they had gone to the ECI. In their case, both of them came back together, because of which the party as a whole was able to keep the symbol with them. If we go back in history, in 1968, in fact, when the Congress was split, that was also the time when the Election Commission had in fact frozen the symbol and given new symbols. So they have given all this history, Preeti, in this thing, and they have also clearly said, let me tell you, there were truckloads of affidavits which were being sent to the Election Commission, roughly 3 lakh in number. That's what the Election Commission was given, and the Election Commission has gone through all the papers in detail, and now this is the final order. Let me tell you, Preeti, very quickly, Election Commission's decision is the final decision when it comes to a party name and a party symbol.
Aishwarya, get us the fine print of what are the reasons why the Election Commission has now awarded the name and the symbol to Eknath Shinde's faction. We're going to come right back to you, viewers, because there's no factions anymore. Trust Eknath Shinde, the Chief Minister, now to hold a show of strength of sorts, where he will say that this is the real Shiv Sena, this is our symbol, everyone else, even though it might have come through inheritance, is an imposter. Trust it all now to blow up in a big fashion. But huge win coming in for Eknath Shinde, and understandably so. Why is it to be read in perspective of the BMC elections? The BMC elections, viewers, were to take place last year in September. They haven't taken place yet. The Uddhav Thackeray Shiv Sena has constantly gone to town and say that there is a reason why the elections are being delayed, because Eknath Shinde and the BJP are highly unpopular. And but now, when the EC has made it clear that, and in practical terms, made it clear that the real Shiv Sena is the Eknath Shinde Sena. What will come of Uddhav Thackeray, because this is a huge political blow. We're going to try and get in a word from our Mumbai Bureau Chief as well, Sahil Joshi. We're going to try and connect to him. But before we cut across to our political reporters, because this is going to have huge political implications where the BMC elections are concerned. Mind you, not just that, there's a lot of churning that would go on after this. On the other hand, what about the general elections come again in just about a year's time? All of that perspective coming up. But Aishwarya, I'll come right back to you. Take us through the Election Commission's decision? What were the key parameters on which the EC decided to award the symbol and the party name to Eknath Shinde?
Well, Preeti, there's a Symbols Act 1968. Every decision that the Election Commission takes is with regards to the symbol selection 1968. It clearly says it's not just the majority of the MLAs and the MPs that one needs to prove. You also need to prove all the people who are working in your party. Which side do they lean? You will also have to prove the office bearers, all the office bearers, not just in the state of Maharashtra, it's spread across the country. Which side do they lean? All these things one needs to present in front of the Election Commission. They need to have names of all those people, and a very detailed presentation has to be given in front of the Election Commission, and only then, on the basis of who, the people in the party, who they are actually leaning towards, they also look at the history of the party. Why was the those are the things that also both the factions, from what we understand, were able to explain. Let me also tell you, one of the things that the Eknath Shinde faction had said was that Uddhav Thackeray had changed the core of the party. This was also one of the things that they had said, keeping all these things in mind. And what the Election Commission says, that when they went through almost 3 lakh papers, they understood that majority of the people spread across the country were with the Eknath Shinde faction, because of which they believe, the Election Commission believes, the Commission believes, that the real Shiv Sena is the Eknath Shinde Shiv Sena. Preeti.
All right. I want to immediately cut across to our Mumbai Bureau Chief, Sahil Joshi, who is joining us. Sahil, I want you to take our viewers through on what are the immediate political implications of this.
Well, definitely it is going to have a big implications on the Shiv Sena, because Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray group specifically, was gearing itself for the municipal corporation elections, not only in Mumbai, but almost 10 important municipal corporations across Maharashtra. It was going to be like a mini assembly elections in Maharashtra in next few months. And the main contention for them was that there is a split in the party. Eknath Shinde caused this particular split by, taking undue means from the BJP, and with the support of BJP has caused this big rift. And he was asking for the sympathy from the Shiv Sainiks and the Shiv Sena supporters. But now Eknath Shinde will be getting a chance to claim that they are the real Shiv Sena. They are the one who can claim the name of the Shiv Sena, which was formed by Balasaheb Thackeray in Mumbai in 1966. So the original party tag goes with Eknath Shinde. Not only the party name, but also the party election symbol, bow and arrow, which Shiv Sena officially got in 1989. It's a big blow for Uddhav Thackeray. Now they will have to come up with some other name. They will have to re-register their party with the Election Commission, and now it will be Uddhav Thackeray's party, not the party which was formed by Balasaheb Thackeray in 1966 at the Shivaji Park ground in Mumbai. It was kind of a historic event. There have been traditional events by the Shiv Sena, that the Formation Day and many other events, which will not be, Uddhav Thackeray will not be able to claim on that. More importantly, the people who are sitting on fence, specifically the people who are willing to fight the corporation elections on Uddhav Thackeray's ticket, may be willing to jump with Eknath Shinde, because he has got the original symbol, the original name of the party, and he can claim that the original Shiv Sena is with Eknath Shinde. The BJP will be able to claim that it was only Uddhav Thackeray who had split away from the original Shiv Sena. He deviated himself from the original goal of the Shiv Sena, the Hindutva, and the banner of Hindutva, the carrier of Hindutva, is now going to be Eknath Shinde camp. So that is going to be a big blow for Uddhav Thackeray. We are yet to get the reaction from Uddhav Thackeray. Uddhav Thackeray camp has accepted that there is going to be a split. The earlier verdict of Election Commission before by-poll in Mumbai was Uddhav Thackeray will be getting a name, Shiv Sena, Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray, and Eknath Shinde fraction will be getting a name, Balasahebanchi Shiv Sena. They have split the symbols. Eknath Shinde had got a symbol of sword and of the sword, and Uddhav Thackeray has got a symbol of torch. So he had accepted the fact that there is a split in the party, and he will be leading the fraction with the name Shiv Sena, Uddhav Balasaheb Thackeray. Now, this new judgment by the Election Commission, the new order by the Election Commission, is going to hamper his plans with respect to the municipal corporation elections.
आखिर वही फैसला है। हम शुरू से कह रहे हैं कि चुनाव आयोग पर हमें विश्वास नहीं है, क्योंकि जब मामला सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चल रहा है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट में दोनों पक्षों की तरफ से बहस अभी जारी है, कोई अंतिम निर्णय नहीं आया, लेकिन आनन फानन में चुनाव आयोग ने दर्शा दिया है कि चुनाव आयोग भाजपा का एजेंट के रूप में काम करती है, केंद्र सरकार के अधीन काम करती है। किसी पार्टी को आप तोड़ सकते हैं, आप उसे धोखा दे सकते हैं, लेकिन पार्टी किसकी है किसकी नहीं है यह फैसला तो न्यायालय में होता है ना, न्याय देवता करते हैं। जब सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मामला विचाराधीन है, वहां पे बात अभी चली रही है। आपने आनंद फानन में अभी ये डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि एकनाथ शिंदे की पार्टी है और चुनाव चिन्ह तीर धनुष उनका है। इसका हम निषेध करते हैं। पूरे भारत में अब सभी को विश्वास हो गया है कि चुनाव आयोग पूरी तरह से भाजपा के एजेंट के रूप में काम करती है और अब चुनाव आयोग पर किसी को विश्वास नहीं है। चुनाव आयोग अपनी विश्वसनीयता खो चुकी है।
Understandable reaction, Sahil, that is coming in from the Shiv Sena, because the narrative will be exactly what Mr. Dubey said from the Shiv Sena. He's also on the phone line with us. Sahil, you can also jump in as in when you want to ask a question. Dubey ji, चाहे आप कुछ कह लीजिए, पर बात तो अब ये तय है कि शिव सेना अब एकनाथ शिंदे जी की है।
देखिए, ऐसा है, लोग हमसे आकर कहते थे कि चुनाव आयोग पर विश्वास नहीं है, चुनाव आयोग जो है वो केंद्र सरकार और भाजपा के एजेंट के रूप में काम करती है। लेकिन हम सोचते थे कि नहीं, ऐसी बात नहीं होगी, चुनाव आयोग निष्पक्ष जांच करेगी। लेकिन आज लोगों का विश्वास सही हो गया, लोग जो बातें करते थे वो सच कर दिया चुनाव आयोग ने। चुनाव आयोग को जब मालूम है कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट में एक बहस चल रही है, भारत का बहुत महत्वपूर्ण मुद्दा वो देख रहे हैं, वहाँ क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा इस पर सबकी सांसें अटकी हैं। आनन फानन में आज चुनाव आयोग ने यह कह दिया कि शिवसेना एकनाथ शिंदे की है और तीर धनुष उनका है। अब आप बताइए, हम तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाएंगे, सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाना हमारा अधिकार है, लेकिन आज देश में अपनी विश्वसनीयता खो चुकी है चुनाव आयोग। लोग बार बार कहते थे कि चुनाव आयोग जो है वो एक दूसरे के दबाव में आ जाती है, कहीं कहीं लोगों को हराने के भी काम करती है, जिताने की काम करती है। लेकिन लोग बोलते थे नहीं यार, चुनाव आयोग एक संस्था है, एक मजबूत यंत्रणा काम करती है। लेकिन आज देश के सामने उनकी पूरी तरह से कलई खुल गई है। हम बार बार कह रहे थे कि आप दोनों पक्षों को सुनिए, हमारी बात सुनिए, उनकी बात सुनिए, कागज पत्र जमा होने दीजिए, उस पर चर्चा करिए, हमें बुलाइए, एक प्रक्रिया से जाइए, उसके बाद दूध का दूध पानी का पानी करिए। लेकिन जब हमारे 16 विधायकों के जो उनका निलंबन है उसके लिए एक मामला चल रहा है, पूरी पार्टी का भविष्य वहां निर्भर है, अचानक आप आज कह दे रहे हैं कि ये चुनाव आयोग कह रहा है कि भाई ये पार्टी उनकी है। कमाल है। अब इस पर क्या कहें क्या न कहें, हम तो देश के ऊपर छोड़ते हैं भाई, कि देश की जनता अगर आप देख रहे हो सुन रहे हो तो आप निर्णय लीजिए कि क्या बाला साहब ठाकरे जी, उद्धव ठाकरे जी, आदित्य ठाकरे जी की शिवसेना है, हम शिव सैनिकों की शिवसेना है, या हमारी ही पार्टी से निकले हुए कुछ लोग, चंद लोग, उनकी शिवसेना है। अभी तो देश की जनता को तय करना है।
देखिए, चंद लोग तो नहीं है दुबे जी। साहिल, वुड यू आल्सो वांट टू कम इन? चंद लोग तो नहीं है, क्योंकि जो प्रेसिडेंट्स।
अच्छा, मैम आप मुझे बात बताइए, 40 विधायक और 10-12 सांसद ये पार्टी होते हैं क्या? अगर किसी पार्टी में 2 ही सांसद हों और 2 ही विधायक हों, वो पार्टी छोड़ के चले जाएं तो पार्टी खत्म हो जाती है, पार्टी किसी और की हो जाती है क्या? मैं आपसे सवाल पूछता हूँ, देश भी सवाल पूछेगा।
सर देखिए, अभी जैसे बीएमसी के चुनाव आएंगे, अब बात यह है कि जो उद्धव ठाकरे जी का ग्रुप है, फैक्शन है, अब वो शिवसेना नहीं कहलाएगा, तो अब आगे जाके क्या प्रतिक्रिया रहेगी वो देखने का है।
हम हार मानने वालों में से नहीं हैं। हम न्याय देवता पर पूरा विश्वास रखते हैं। हम सुप्रीम कोर्ट में जाएंगे, अपनी बात रखेंगे, देश का सबसे बड़ा न्यायालय है वो, हम वहाँ पे कहेंगे कि साहब हमारे साथ अन्याय हो रहा है, अगर इस देश में जरा सी भी उम्मीद बाकी है तो आपसे उम्मीद करते हैं कि आप हमें न्याय देंगे। ठीक है, चुनाव आयोग, इनकम टैक्स, एनसीबी, ईडी, सीबीआई, ये तो अपनी विश्वसनीयता खो चुके थे, लेकिन एक चुनाव आयोग था जिसको लोग कहते थे नहीं यार, शायद ये लोगों के लिए बने हुए हैं, शायद ये किसी पार्टी के व्यक्ति नहीं है। लेकिन चुनाव आयोग भी अब तो सिर्फ और सिर्फ सुप्रीम कोर्ट का आसरा है इस देश में। किसी को भी न्याय चाहिए भैया तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट से मांगिए,
चलिए,
देंगी न चुनाव आयोग देगा।
दुबे जी बहुत शुक्रिया कि आप हमसे जुड़े. Sahil, understandable reactions coming in from the Shiv Sena camp. They had something that even Uddhav Thackeray had said very recently, that wait till the Supreme Court ruling comes in on disqualification and only then should EC take up any decisions on the organizational or the symbol allotment issue. But having said that, it's a huge conundrum now that Uddhav Thackeray will find himself in.
Well, of course, they were actually expecting that, the kind of facts which Uddhav Thackeray camp tried to push in front of the election commission was that yes, of course, there are more number of MLAs and MPs elected are with Eknath Shinde camp, but the party constitution gives immense powers to the party president, and that is the reason why the organization is with Uddhav Thackeray camp. Along with that, they have also submitted affidavits of almost 2.5 lakh affidavits to the election commission. But it looks like that the election commission does not want to get into it because it's humanly not possible for election commission to go and check each and every affidavit at this point of time. But what it looks like is that Eknath Shinde's claim that maximum number of office bearers elected in 2017 have been sided with Eknath Shinde, and they have said they have managed to also convince election commission that the party has deviated by Uddhav Thackeray from its
Sahil, will you
original
stay
goal
with
of
me?
Hindutva.
Just stay with me. The reason I'm asking you to, just stop is I'm going to just bring in Sheetal Mahatre. She's the spokesperson of Eknath Shinde faction. Now, I would reckon the Shiv Sena, because the dust seemingly has settled on that for now by the election commission. Sheetal Mahatre, congratulations. You've been awarded the symbol by the EC and the party name.
धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद. ये हमारे लिए बहुत ही बड़ा दिन है आज का, क्योंकि जो हम इतने दिन से बोल रहे थे कि जो बाला साहब हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहब ठाकरे है, उनका विचार लेके हम आगे जा रहे हैं और नंबर्स जो है वो हमारे पास ज्यादा है, तो ऑन मेरिट ये चिन्ह और नाम दोनों हमें ही मिलना चाहिए. ये जो हम बार बार बता रहे थे, तो मुझे लगता है आज लोगों के सामने और पूरे दुनिया के सामने आज ये तय हो गया कि बाला साहब ठाकरे जी का विचार लेके कौन आगे जा रहा है, और इसीलिए नाम और सिंबल दोनों भी हमें मिला है.
शीतल जी, जो अभी इनिशियल रिस्पांस निकल के आ रहा है उद्धव ठाकरे जी के कैंप से, कहा जा रहा है देखिए आप चाहे सिंबल ले लीजिए, चाहे आप पार्टी नाम ले लीजिए, पर बाला ठाकरे जी का आशीर्वाद और उनसे जो प्यार जुड़ा है लोगों का, वो आप नहीं ले सकते.
ये तो अभी उनको बोलना ही पड़ेगा, और बोलने के सिवा भी उनके पास कुछ भी रहा नहीं है, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से वो हमें ह्यूमिलेट कर रहे थे, हमें गद्दार बोल रहे थे, हमें बहुत सारे चीजों से हमेशा हमको बात कर रहे थे, तो मुझे लगता है कि आज उनके भी सामने आ गया है कि सचमुच शिवसेना कौन है और सिंबल किसके पास आया है, और ये पूरी दुनिया के सामने जो था कि सच में शिवसेना कौन है, तो ये आज ये तय हो गया है कि शिवसेना कौन है, और शिवसेना के विचार और शिवसेना का जो भी कहना है वो आगे लेके कौन जाने वाला है, ये पूरी दुनिया के सामने आज आ चुका है. ये हमारे लिए बहुत बड़ी लड़ाई थी, और ये लड़ाई आज हमने जीती है. हमारे सीएम एकनाथ शिंदे साहब, इनके नेतृत्व में ये लड़ाई हमने जीती है, तो मुझे लगता है हमारे लिए ये बहुत बड़ी जीत है.
बहुत शुक्रिया मात्रे जी, शीतल मात्रे जी, कि आप हमसे जुड़े. साहिल, understandable reactions coming in from both camps, but if you just break it out, and we're putting out those graphics as well for our viewers, what are the immediate challenges that lie in front of Uddhav Thackeray now? Sahil, can you hear me? All right, we seem to have lost the connection with Sahil. We're going to try and reconnect there. But once again, we was taking you through the latest news, and it's huge when it comes down to the political developments in the state of Maharashtra, where the war over the Shiv Sena name and symbol was concerned. The Election Commission has ruled today that Shiv Sena the party name and the party symbol, which is the bow and arrow. It had been frozen because both factions were claiming it will now be retained by Eknath Shinde faction. In the midst of all of this, the Uddhav Thackeray clan and only the faction, and before Uddhav Thackeray himself just a few days ago had said that the EC should wait because the case of disqualification is actually with the Supreme Court. Let the Supreme Court ruling come in and only then decide or make a decision on the administration of the working of the party, especially the allotment of the symbol and the party name. All of this is going to blow out politically. Number one, viewers, the BMC elections, which were to take place last year, had been repeatedly postponed, are around the corner right now, and which will give a huge edge to Eknath Shinde to lead Shiv Sena now, because that matter somewhere down the line is settled. So why is this a setback for Uddhav Thackeray, which I just told you? Reason one, losses for Thackeray legacy fight, because one thing has been made clear by the Election Commission: the symbol and the name, the real Shiv Sena that we talked about, is now Eknath Shinde, at least on paper, and importantly on the ballot paper when the BMC elections take place. Let's listen in to Sanjay Raut of the Uddhav faction.
वो पानी कहाँ तक पहुँचा है ये आज देश ने देखा, लोकतंत्र ने देखा, लेकिन हमें कोई फिक्र करने की जरूरत नहीं। जनता हमारे साथ, हम नया चिन्ह लेकर जाएंगे और जनता के दरबार में फिर एक बार यही शिवसेना खड़ी करके
सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में फायदा होगा।
नवंबर में दूसरी बार शिवसेना के खिलाफ फैसला आया, उसके खिलाफ लोकतंत्र बचा ही नहीं। सभी ये संस्थाएं जो है, इलेक्शन कमीशन के लेकर, न्याय व्यवस्था, जांच एजेंसी, सब गुलाम बनकर बैठे, और क्या कर सकते हैं? ये लोकतंत्र की हत्या है।
आपको लगता है सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में फायदा होगा इसका?
इस चुनाव आयोग के फैसले को फायदा हो या नुकसान हो, जनता के न्यायालय में जाकर न्याय मांगे। चुनाव आयोग के इस फैसले को ठाकरे गुट सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में चुनौती देगा। लड़ाई भी लड़ेंगे और हम जनता के
All right, viewers, to give our viewers perspective, it all started, if I'm not wrong, in the month of June last year. Eknath Shinde, at that point of time, with 39 other MLAs, had brewed together a rebellion, vertically splitting the Shiv Sena. The then Uddhav Thackeray led Mahavikas Aghadi government. He was the chief minister then, fell because of this defection and this rebellion. And since then, of course, we've seen how things have panned out. Eknath Shinde, now with the BJP, with his deputy as Mr. Fadnavis, is the chief minister. And there has been a war and a claim that it was Eknath Shinde's faction that was the real Shiv Sena, purely due to its numerical strength. The Thackeray camp, which is Uddhav Thackeray, was given the name of Shiv Sena, Uddhav Bala Thackeray, has also contested for the same Shiv Sena symbol and the party name. There is also a parallel fight which is going on in Supreme Court pertaining to the disqualification of the MLAs, and that is something that repeatedly has been brought forward by the Uddhav faction, saying that, hey, wait, which is the Election Commission, do not rule on the symbol or the party name before the matter is settled in the top court of the country. All of that today, somewhere down the line, laid to rest, it seems, with the Election Commission coming in and saying the real Shiv Sena and the symbol.
कि आज न्यायालय ने उसको सही ठहराया और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि हम सब शिव सैनिक इसीलिए बाला साहब की शिवसेना में गए थे, क्योंकि बाला साहब का विचार लेके सिर्फ एकनाथ शिंदे साहब चल रहे हैं, उनके साथ 40 आमदार, सब खासदार और सब शिव सैनिक है, और यही शिवसेना है। और इसके ऊपर शिक्का मुर्तब माननीय न्यायालय ने किया है, मैं उसका आदर करता हूँ। हमें बहुत हर्ष है, आज तो हमें बहुत आनंद भी है और हम जरूर उसे बनाएंगे। और मुझे पक्का विश्वास है कि जो बाला साहब चाहते थे, जो बाला साहब ने कहा था, जो हिंदू हित की बात करेगा वही देश पे राज करेगा, यही अभी होने वाला है। बाकी इधर उधर कुछ भी आप देखो मत, सही शिवसेना आज तय हो गई और न्यायालय ने उसको हरा कंदील दे दिया है।
यानी उद्धव ठाकरे को जो निराशा प्राप्त हुई तो उसकी वो क्या लगता है?
नहीं, मुझे नहीं लगता कोई निराशा वगैरह। उद्धव साहब को भी पता है कि शिवसेना क्या है, क्योंकि शिवसेना के पूरे लीडर शिव सैनिक आज बाला साहब की शिवसेना में थे और हमें तो आज नाम भी मिल गया और चिन्ह भी मिल गया है।
All right, viewers, lots of political reactions filtering in, and understandably so, a sense of elation running through the Eknath Shinde camp. They're going to actually go in now to the BMC elections, and understandably, it seems they're going to be around the corner. It has to happen because they were scheduled to happen in September last year. That didn't quite go. At that point of time, they've been repeatedly postponed, and now Uddhav Thackeray would need to think whether or not what his party name will be, what his symbol will be, because he was given a temporary symbol of the torch and the name, which will now have to be changed. Uddhav Thackeray and his camp have repeatedly said that let this matter be settled by the Supreme Court. The matter of disqualification of MLAs is in Supreme Court. The top court has to hear the disqualification matter later in February. However, the Election Commission has now somewhere down the line settled the matter once and for all. Is there anything legally at all that Uddhav Thackeray and his camp can do? Well, not quite, but we're going to still get in an understanding of all the various aspects of it. All right, we're going to continue to get you reactions, but this understandably is a big blow when it comes down to the Uddhav Thackeray faction. A lot that Uddhav Thackeray will now have to think. Number one, BMC, what happens with the BMC elections, because the Shiv Sena symbol, the name which is practically burnt into the supporters and the cadre of the Sena, now lies with the man on your television screen on the left hand side. Let's listen in right now to all the reactions that have come in.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मामला विचाराधीन है, वहां पे बात अभी चली रही है। आपने आनंद फानन में अभी ये डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि एकनाथ शिंदे की पार्टी है और चुनाव चिन्ह तीर धनुष उनका है। इसका हम निषेध करते हैं। पूरे भारत में अब सभी को विश्वास हो गया है कि चुनाव आयोग पूरी तरह से भाजपा के एजेंट के रूप में काम करती है और अब चुनाव आयोग पर किसी को विश्वास नहीं है। चुनाव आयोग अपनी विश्वसनीयता खो चुकी है।
सरकार बनी, जिसको कहा जाता है छोटे सरकार, करोड़ों रुपए ऊपर से नीचे तक पानी की तरह बहाया। वो पानी कहाँ तक पहुँचा है ये आज देश ने देखा, लोकतंत्र ने देखा, लेकिन हमें कोई फिक्र करने की जरूरत नहीं। जनता हमारे साथ, हम नया चिन्ह लेकर जाएंगे और जनता के दरबार में फिर एक बार यही शिवसेना खड़ी करके
सर्वोच्च।
All right, what is interesting in all of this is that the Eknath Shinde faction has repeatedly gone on and quoted various examples, past precedents. One of them, of course, the classic 1971 example where there was a split within the Congress, a division in the Congress under the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, where one was called the Congress O and the other one the Congress I, which was, of course, Indira. There was the symbol was frozen by the Election Commission and both sides were given different symbols. However, with the result of what went down with that is something that has constantly been referred as which would work in the favor of Eknath Shinde, and it seems the Election Commission has taken note of all the affidavits that have come in from both sides, and importantly, the numbers seem to lie, sheer numbers seem to lie with Eknath Shinde. However, has the Election Commission ignored the constitution of the party itself, or that other administrative issues lie with Uddhav Thackeray faction? So have both of them been ignored is something, of course, Uddhav Thackeray's camp will talk about.
ऑब्वियस है साहिल जी, और भी लोग जो है और जो लोग वेट कर रहे थे, जो संभ्रम की परिस्थिति में थे कि क्या होगा करके, तो आज जो फेंसिटर्स भी है जो जिनको आना है वो धनुष्यबान का वेट कर रहे थे, नाम का वेट कर रहे थे, क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा, क्योंकि एक अलग परिस्थिति यहाँ पर निर्माण हुई थी। लेकिन आज पूरी जो चीजें है एक पूरी तरीके से एक ट्रांसपेरेंट है, क्लियर कट हो चुकी है कि शिवसेना किसकी है और धनुष्यबान किसका है।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया श्रीकांत, आपने हमसे बात की इसके लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
विचार साहब उनके जो विचार थे वो विचार आगे लेके जाने का काम जो है माननीय मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथ जी शिंदे साहब कर रहे थे यहाँ पे। तो आज एक सभी लोगों में एक अलग जोश है, एक अलग आनंद है, क्योंकि आज सिंबल भी मिला है, नाम भी मिला है, और जो असली शिवसेना जो हम बोल रहे थे पहले दिन से कि हम ही असली शिवसेना है, हम ही जो है वो बाला साहब के विचारों के वारसदार हम पहले दिन से जो बोल रहे थे, आज वो सच हुआ है।
माना जा रहा है कि आपको सिंबल मिलने की वजह से या पार्टी का नाम मिलने की वजह से कई सारे लोग कई बार आप ये कह चुके हैं कि एकनाथ शिंदे भी ये कह चुके हैं कि कई सारे लोग जो अभी फिलहाल उद्धव ठाकरे कैंप के साथ है वो आपके साथ आ सकते हैं। क्या अभी भी आपको लगता है कि ये फ्लो और भी बढ़ेगा? मुंबई जैसे शहर में खास करके आपको उम्मीद थी उसका फायदा होगा?
देखिए कि पहले दिन से इतने बड़े पैमाने पर लोग जो जुड़ रहे थे, आज 7 महीने हो गए। आज 7 महीने होने के बावजूद जो इनफ्लो है, जो लोगों का जुड़ाव है, वो रुक नहीं रहा है। और आज तो हम पहले दिन से कह रहे थे कि हम ही असली शिवसेना है, हम ही बाला साहब जी के विचारों के वारसदार है। यहाँ पर उनके सब विचार जो है आगे लेके जाने का काम जो है एकनाथ जी शिंदे साहब और उनकी सारी टीम जो है सब कर रहे थे। और आज इलेक्शन कमीशन ने भी उसी तरह का जो है रिजल्ट यहाँ पर दिया है। सच के बाजू से निर्णय जो है आज यहाँ पर हुआ है।
और भी लोग आपसे जुड़ेंगे ऐसा आपको लगता है? ये पर्टिकुलर फैसले के बाद में और भी लोग आपसे जुड़ेंगे ऐसा आपको लगता है?
तो एकदम ऑब्वियस है साहिल जी, और भी लोग जो है और जो लोग वेट कर रहे थे, जो संभ्रम की परिस्थिति में थे कि क्या होगा करके, तो आज जो फेंसिटर्स भी है जो जिनको आना है वो धनुष्यबाण का वेट कर रहे थे, नाम का वेट कर रहे थे, क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा, क्योंकि एक अलग परिस्थिति यहाँ पर निर्माण हुई थी। लेकिन आज पूरी जो चीजें है एक पूरी तरीके से एक ट्रांसपेरेंट है, क्लियर कट हो चुकी है कि शिवसेना किसकी है और धनुष्यबाण किसका है।
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया श्रीकांत, आपने हमसे बात की इसके लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया।
All right, let's continue to get reactions. Navneet Rana, independent MP, is on the phone line with us right now. Ms. Rana, you must be glad that the symbol and the party name has now been allotted to Eknath Shinde. You've been a big supporter.
More than a big supporter, from last so many years we have seen Bala Saheb's ideology in Maharashtra and how Shiv Sena has formed in Maharashtra and how Shiv Sena used to work with Bala Saheb Thackeray ji. So we know about that. More than a supporter to Eknath Shinde ji, I believe the ideology what on Bala Saheb Thackeray ji used to work. It was only the person in Shiv Sena was there with Bala Saheb Thackeray from the ground level, that was Eknath Shinde ji. So I was damn sure, and I've spoken openly on every stage, that this decision has to come, and this decision, we believe in that, that whenever one party gets divided into another party, the 100% we had believes in that, that almost 90% the party has gone in one side. So the commission has to give this result. And the way the election commission has given the result, the symbol has given to Eknath Shinde, every single person from Maharashtra, they are celebrating like Diwali in Maharashtra. And believe me, we all were waiting for this. Because who cannot pray for Ram ji or Hanuman ji? मैं आपको सीधे शब्दों में बताती हूँ, जो राम का नहीं, जो हनुमान का नहीं, वो किसी काम का नहीं और धनुष्यबाण उनका नहीं. This is the line we all were waiting for it. And now after this, the real ideology, what Bala Saheb Thackeray used to carry in Maharashtra, and because of that, Shiv Sena had formed in Maharashtra.
Okay.
So definitely,
Ms. Rana,
all Maharashtrian people...
Does that also mean that somewhere down the line you're looking at losing the independent tag and maybe going in what you now call the real Shiv Sena?
Who, me?
Yes, ma'am, you.
See, oh God. See, I'll tell you only one thing. I was waiting the way actually Uddhav Thackeray ji has become Chief Minister of Maharashtra, because the ideology and the speeches from Bala Saheb Thackeray has spoken from every state that none of my family member will become any day CM, Chief Minister. So that is all there. Who lives in Maharashtra, they know what was ideology of Bala Saheb Thackeray's ideology. Me coming to any party is a total different, but I am person who actually brought up in Mumbai, so I know the ideology. So I'm happy for it. Who actually got the real ideology is Eknath Shinde ji after
But I'll tell you why that question is pertinent, Ms. Rana. I'll tell you why the question is pertinent, because after Eknath Shinde being awarded now the symbol and the party name Shiv Sena, there will be a lot from maybe the Uddhav Thackeray camp now who will defect or come back when what they will say is the real Shiv Sena. It will attract a lot more people. Does that include you?
See, why should it influence on me and on? I am always an independent person. My husband is thrice. He's an independent MLA. He's a running MLA. Independently, we are doing this work. So I don't think it comes on me. But the way these all 40 MLAs have come out leaving Uddhav Thackeray ji, it is clearly because of his ideology. The way he used to work 2.5 years. He was a chief minister. He's never left Matosri and came out to help people or farmers or anybody else. So I think people used to vote Shiv Sena because of Balasaheb Thackerayji's ideology. And that Uddhav Thackeray has lost that ideology. Because of that MLA from Shiv Sena, they have left Uddhav Thackeray and come to Eknath Shinde ji. That is very clear.
All right, appreciate you joining us, Navneet Rana. There, clearly, it's a moment of celebration and elation where it comes down to Eknath Shinde and now the real Shiv Sena. There's been a constant push by Uddhav Thackeray and his camp that the EC should have actually waited for the Supreme Court to settle the matter on defection. But having said that, viewers, ultimately, if you look at it in terms of what has been protocol, what has been the rule, the election symbols, reservation, allotment order of 1968 clearly states that the EC can decide disputes amongst rival groups or sections of a recognized political party. Now, the EC is the only authority, and one needs to underline that EC is the only authority to decide issues on a dispute or a merger. The Supreme Court upheld this validity in the year 1971. So, what the EC has decided is binding away from the purview of the Supreme Court. And whether Mr. Uddhav Thackeray and his camp likes it or not, calls it favor or that the EC is compromised is what they seem to say. All of that aside, it is now binding. Shiv Sena and the symbol of bow and arrow now lies with no one else but the man that you see bang in the middle of your television screen, Eknath Shinde. How does it benefit him? Very clear in the days to come. There are the BMC elections in Mumbai. After that, multiple constituencies go in for by-elections in the coming year. As my colleague Sahil suggested, it's like a mini election of sorts, state election of sorts, which would be taking place next year. So it will definitely help. The fact that the symbol and the name has been burnt into the memory space of Shiv Sena cadre and followers is a huge, huge win for Eknath Shinde. On the other hand, will now Uddhav Thackeray see more defections? What happens to the legacy? What happens to Aditya Thackeray? All of that in question. Huge blow. And nobody can deny it when it comes in for Uddhav Thackeray. Let's listen in to my colleague Sahil speaking to the Chief Minister, Eknath Shinde.
आज जो फैसला आया है उसके बारे में आपका क्या कहना है? किस तरीके से आप इस फैसले को देखते हैं?
ये सत्य का विजय है, ये सत्य का विजय है, लोकशाही का विजय है और बाला साहेब और आनंद दिघे साहब के विचारों का विजय और तमाम जिन्होंने मुझ पर विश्वास रखा, मेरे 50 सहयोगी विधायक है, सांसद है और हजारों लाखों कार्यकर्ता, शिव सैनिक, इनका विजय है। मैं चुनाव आयोग को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं।
सर, लेकिन इसके बाद आपको लगता है कि और भी लोग आपसे जुड़ेंगे? मुंबई में खास करके आप इंतजार कर रहे थे इस फैसले का। अब जब ओरिजिनल नाम और बो एंड एरो सिंबल आपको मिल चुका है, तो और भी लोग आपसे जुड़ने की उम्मीद आपको लग रही है?
नहीं, लोग तो जुड़ रहे हैं। जब ये सिंबल नहीं था तब भी लोग जुड़ रहे हैं। जो विचार हम लोग ने जो भूमिका ली हुई है बाबा साहब के विचारों की और इस राज्य के हित की, जनता के हित की जो भूमिका हमने ली हुई है, इसलिए लोग काफी जुड़ रहे हैं, आगे भी जुड़ते रहेंगे।
आरोप लगाया जा रहा है शिवसेना उद्धव गुट के तरफ से, अब उनको उद्धव ठाकरे गुट कहना चाहिए, कि उनका कहना है कि सत्ता का उपयोग करके ये फैसला लिया गया इलेक्शन कमीशन की तरफ से। क्या कहना है आपका?
ये देखिए, आरोप लगाना तो उनका काम है, लेकिन इस देश में लोकशाही में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, रूल्स है, कानून है।
आज जो फैसला आया है उसके बारे में आपका क्या कहना है? किस तरीके से आप इस फैसले को देखते हैं?
ये सत्य का विजय है, ये सत्य का विजय है, लोकशाही का विजय है और बाला साहेब और आनंद दिघे साहब के विचारों का विजय। और तमाम जिन्होंने मुझ पर विश्वास रखा, मेरे 50 सहयोगी विधायक है, सांसद है और हजारों लाखों कार्यकर्ता, शिव सैनिक, इनका विजय है। मैं चुनाव आयोग को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूँ।
All right, you just heard Eknath Shinde there, the Chief Minister, elated, ecstatic. Many would suggest he was expecting it as well, but it's a big, big win for Eknath Shinde's faction, and it will augur a lot politically in the days to come. Uddhav Thackeray, and one has to admit, is on the back foot now. A lot of thinking to do, especially to try and keep whatever little flock that he still has together. Lots of questions coming in. On the other hand, of course, we are not hearing much from the Uddhav Thackeray faction. A lot of deliberations must be going on. You did hear Sanjay Raut. Let's try and get in that reaction once again of Sanjay Raut. Listen in.
पानी की तरफ बहाया, वो पानी कहाँ तक पहुँचा है ये आज देश ने देखा, लोकतंत्र ने देखा। लेकिन हमें कोई फिक्र करने की ज़रूरत नहीं, जनता हमारे साथ। हम नया चिन्ह लेकर जाएंगे और जनता के दरबार में फिर एक बार यही शिवसेना खड़ी करके
सर्वोच्च
सुप्रीम कोर्ट में मामला विचाराधीन है, वहां पे बात अभी चली रही है। आपने आनंद फानन में अभी ये डिक्लेयर कर दिया कि एकनाथ शिंदे की पार्टी है और चुनाव चिन्ह तीर धनुष उनका है। इसका हम निषेध करते हैं। पूरे भारत में अब सभी को विश्वास हो गया है कि चुनाव आयोग पूरी तरह से भाजपा के एजेंट के रूप में काम करती है और अब चुनाव आयोग पर किसी को विश्वास नहीं है। चुनाव आयोग अपनी विश्वसनीयता खो चुकी है।
उद्धव ठाकरे जी ने मुख्यमंत्री पद के लिए हिंदुत्व छोड़ा, नाम भी गया, निशान भी गया। अब दोनों हाथ में हरा झंडा लेके निकले, नामो निशान भी रहेगा।
अखेर सत्याचा विजय झाला। बाळासाहेब आणि आनंद दिघे साहेबांच्या विचारांचा विजय आहे। मला त्याच्यावर प्रतिक्रिया देण्याची आवश्यकता वाटत नाही। हा लोकशाहीचा विजय आहे, हा बहुमताचा विजय आहे आणि पुन्हा एकदा मी सांगतो, हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाळासाहेब ठाकरे आणि धर्मवीर आनंद दिघे साहेबांच्या विचारांचा विजय आणि तमाम लोकप्रतिनिधी जे आहेत, माझ्यासोबत असलेले 50 आमदार, सर्व खासदार, लोकप्रतिनिधी ज्यांनी माझ्या भूमिकेशी एकरूप झाले, या सगळ्यांचा विजय आहे आणि अखेर हा सत्याचा विजय आहे। चुनाव आयोग ने जो निर्णय दिया है उसका मैं स्वागत करता हूँ। ये लोकशाही का विजय है। हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाळासाहेब ठाकरे जी, धर्मवीर आनंद दिघे जी, इनके विचारों का विजय है। और मेरे साथ मैंने जो भूमिका ली, उसके साथ जो 50 विधायक और 13 सांसद, हजारों लाखों कार्यकर्ता, पदाधिकारी, शिव सैनिक, ये इनका विजय है और इसलिए मैं चुनाव आयोग को धन्यवाद देतो।
सर, सुप्रीम कोर्टात हाच निकाल जो आहे तो तुमच्या बाजूला लागेल। कोर्टात देखील अशाच प्रकारे लोकशाहीला धरून तुमचा विजय होईल अशी अपेक्षा आहे का तुमची?
लोकशाहीमध्ये
आज जो फैसला आया।
All right, you just heard the Chief Minister Eknath Shinde. Ecstatic, elated fireworks is what we see. I believe this is Varsha, the residence of the Chief Minister, where resides Eknath Shinde. Understandably so. There are various implications of all of this. We're going to try and get in a word. What happens now to party property? All of that had been frozen. What happens to that massive Shiv Sena Bhavan, at Dadar? It's an iconic building in Dadar. What about party property, administration? All of that now goes to Eknath Shinde. Is that the question? Interesting to look into all of that, because once now the name of the party and the symbol of the party, Naam and Nishan, if that has been settled, what about party property? What about administration, organization? Every building, every organization which was frozen because of the vertical split between the party, will now that be restored in the name of what is now the real Shiv Sena? We're going to try and get in a word from my colleague Sahil Joshi. We're going to try and connect to him in a short while from now. But yes, it's a big day. What you see are celebrations that are taking place, fireworks, firecrackers. It would be interesting now to actually look what's happening in front of Matushri as well. It'd be interesting to note, have the Shiv Senics, which associated themselves with Uddhav Thackeray, well, they really won't be called Shiv Senics anymore, will they? Will they also be gathering in front of the residence of Uddhav Thackeray? Because Varsha is in celebratory mode, viewers. Firecrackers going out where Varsha, the Chief Minister's residence, is concerned. On the other hand, it seems abject silence at Matushri. We're going to try and get in a word, try and get in a reporter. This would have huge political implications. There's no denying that. The BMC elections are around the corner. There are by-elections, many of them around the corner. There's the general elections next year. It's a big win, perception-wise, for Eknath Shinde. And where the Uddhav faction is concerned, you heard Sanjay Raut there, where he said, we don't care now about anything else. The love of the people still lies with us, but will that be enough? And the true litmus test of all of that would be the BMC elections. When you have the administration on your side, because you are the Chief Minister, when you have the Naam and Nishan, the name and symbol, you have the perception on your side as well. Will there be more defections, those who are just looking, waiting and watching, where Uddhav Thackeray is concerned and his flock, or the limited numbers that he retained? Will there be a jump in those as well? Lots of questions. Listen in to all reactions coming in.
सत्य परेशान हो सकता है लेकिन पराजित नहीं। वंदनीय हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहब ठाकरे, इन्होंने जो हमें जो विचार दिया था, हिंदुत्व का विचार, वो लेकर माननीय एकनाथ जी शिंदे साहब जो इस महाराष्ट्र के मुख्यमंत्री को लेकर चल रहे हैं, मुझे लगता है कि आज न्यायालय ने उसको सही ठहराया। और मुझे पूरा विश्वास है कि हम सब शिव सैनिक इसीलिए बाला साहब की शिवसेना में गए थे, क्योंकि बाला साहब का विचार लेके सिर्फ एकनाथ शिंदे साहब चल रहे हैं। उनके साथ 40 आमदार, सब खासदार और सब शिव सैनिक है, और यही शिवसेना है। और इसके ऊपर शिक्का मुर्तब माननीय न्यायालय ने किया है, मैं उसका आदर करता हूँ।
Well, you just heard there a leader of Eknath Shinde's camp, and now the real Shiv Sena camp, quoting Sachin Pilot, Satya Pareshan ho sakta hai. But, we're going to play that out again for our viewers. But having said that, this is a big day. Let's listen in to the Deputy CM.
ठाकरे जी के विचारों पर चलने वाली शिवसेना, यानी मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथ जी शिंदे, इनकी शिवसेना को शिवसेना का चिन्ह धनुष्य बाण और शिवसेना का नाम मिला है। अब ओरिजिनल शिवसेना ये एकनाथ शिंदे जी की शिवसेना बनी है। मैं एकनाथ शिंदे जी का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूं। हम लोग पहले दिन से इस बारे में कॉन्फिडेंट थे, क्योंकि इलेक्शन कमीशन के अलग अलग पार्टियों के बारे में इसके पहले के अगर आप निर्णय देखेंगे तो इसी प्रकार के निर्णय उन्होंने दिए हैं। इसलिए मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमें जो विश्वास था, आज उस विश्वास को पूरे तरीके से बल मिला है और असली शिवसेना, बाला साहब के विचारों पर चलने वाली शिवसेना, ये एकनाथ शिंदे जी की ही है।
ये आरोप लगाया जा रहा है कि जिसकी उम्मीद थी वही हुआ, शिवसेना की तरफ से ऐसा वक्तव्य आ रहा है।
देखिए, इससे अलग वक्तव्य वो दे ही नहीं सकते। उनके दोनों प्रकार के वक्तव्य टाइप करके रखे हुए थे। अगर उनके पक्ष में निर्णय आता तो उनका वक्तव्य था कि इलेक्शन कमीशन ने बहुत सही काम किया है, फ्री एंड फेयर काम किया है, और दूसरा उन्होंने टाइप करके रखा था कि उनके विरोध में आएगा तो इलेक्शन कमीशन दबाव में है, वो उनकी स्क्रिप्ट पर चल रहे हैं। लेकिन इलेक्शन कमीशन हो या सुप्रीम कोर्ट हो, ये कानून से चलता है, ये न्याय से चलता है, ये संविधान से चलता है।
मंत्री
शिवसेना प्रमुख बाळासाहेब ठाकरे जी के विचारों पर चलने वाली शिवसेना, यानी मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथ जी शिंदे, इनकी शिवसेना को शिवसेना का चिन्ह धनुष्य बाण और शिवसेना का नाम मिला है। अब ओरिजिनल शिवसेना ये एकनाथ शिंदे जी की शिवसेना बनी है। मैं एकनाथ शिंदे जी का बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन करता हूं। हम लोग पहले दिन से इस बारे में कॉन्फिडेंट थे, क्योंकि इलेक्शन कमीशन के अलग अलग पार्टियों के बारे में इसके पहले के अगर आप निर्णय देखेंगे तो इसी प्रकार के निर्णय उन्होंने दिए हैं। इसलिए मुझे ऐसा लगता है कि हमें जो विश्वास था, आज उस विश्वास को पूरे तरीके से बल मिला है और असली शिवसेना, बाला साहब के विचारों पर चलने वाली शिवसेना, ये एकनाथ शिंदे जी की ही है।
चुनाव आयोग ने जो निर्णय दिया है उसका मैं स्वागत करता हूं। ये लोकशाही का विजय है। हिंदू हृदय सम्राट बाला साहेब ठाकरे जी, धर्मवीर आनंद दिगे जी, इनके विचारों का विजय है। और मेरे साथ मैंने जो भूमिका ली, उसके साथ जो 50 विधायक और 13 सांसद, हजारों लाखों कार्यकर्ता, पदाधिकारी, शिव सैनिक, ये इनका विजय है। और इसलिए मैं चुनाव आयोग को धन्यवाद देता हूँ।
Well, not a tweet, nothing right now from Uddhav Thackeray or even Aditya Thackeray. We're going to keep a keen eye on all developments, fireworks going on at Varsha. It seems abject silence at Matoshri. But having said that, trust India Today to get you the ringside view of the latest political developments. What happens with the party property now? What happens with the iconic Bala Sahib Thackeray Bhavan or the Shiv Sena Bhavan at Dadar? What about the various organizations, administrative organizations when it comes down to the Shiv Sena? All of that now with the real Shiv Sena. Is that so? We're going to get you all of that on the top of 9 p.m. Do stay with us.
Over 3 decades, Business Today has delivered news, views and analysis like no other. Now, Business Today presents the future.
Could I request Mr. Arun Puri, our Editor-in-Chief, to come up on the stage with the Finance Minister as we unveil the anniversary issue of Business Today. This is the 31st anniversary of India's #1 news magazine.
BT produces a cover with an AI avatar of Pichan on its 31st anniversary issue. Visit businesstoday.in/subscribe and subscribe now.
A corporate museum called The Journey has got everyone talking. This museum showcases the origins of the DS Group, its struggling era, initial phase of establishment, the downfall followed by rejuvenation of family members, revival of business and reincarnation of the belief of the founder Shri Satyapal ji. It's actually the art of storytelling, which involves a wide range of media and multimedia tools backed by context-driven, strong narrative that has made the outcome truly an undulating one. It took 2 years for this museum to be completed.
I took over the business and I used to see the files of my father, the records and other things. So I came to know that what was the hard work he put in. And in 50s and 60s, where there was no brand consciousness, He used to work hard. We got those handmade designs and other things. Creating brand where trademark and branding was not known to anybody. So then we started collecting them, and there were huge bundles of papers and other things. So we started developing a biography on him.
Okay.
So in 2014 we launched his biography, and वो इतना डाटा कलेक्ट करते करते हमारे को मतलब ये लगा कि अब हमारे को ये म्यूज़ियम के लायक सामान है, तो फिर हमने म्यूज़ियम पे काम करना शुरू करा. And so that from my grandfather's time to father.
So sorry.
बाबू सोना मैं ना चाहूं, मैं तो चाहूं दर्शन तेरा. तू जो तू दे प्यार से मेरी सेहत बन जाए. आजा गैया बाहों में वैलेंटाइन को न मनाऊं, मैं तेरे प्यार को ही पाऊं. गैया गैया हे मैया मुझको तू इतना हक दे, तेरी सेवा करूं ये अनुभव अलग दे. वैलेंटाइन तेरे चरणों पर अर्पित है, बस एक बार तू मुझको हक दे. आई लव यू गैया मोरी मैया.
Presented by RP Sanjeev Goenka Group, Growing Legacies. Co-presented by Century Ply, आग से बचाए. Co-presented by Macho Hint, fashion बड़े आराम से. Co-powered by CEAT, it helps. Co-powered by Sera, this is your space, play it your way. Hyundai Ioniq 5, the all-electric SUV.
Big India Today exclusive news break here on the news track. Did billionaire philanthropist George Soros try to scuttle the Rafale aircraft deal? Legal advocacy group Sherpa sought a judicial investigation into the Rafale deal, had links to George Soros. The Sherpa lists Soros's Open Society Foundation as a support ground on its website. So, is this a part of George Soros' mission to destabilize India? And that mission, does it stand completely exposed? We get to this exclusive news break here on India Today. Legal advocacy group Sherpa sought a judicial investigation into the Rafale deal, and this organization has been linked to George Soros. The BJP government makes it very clear that this is George Soros waging war against India. His comments at the Munich Security Conference. We'll get you much more on this big story. I have BJP Vice President Jay Panda joining me on the broadcast, but this remains our top focus story on the news track this evening.
Foreign big gun opens fire on Adani storm. Billionaire takes shot at #1 democracy. Soros's words trigger a political meltdown in India. Soros's man spotted walking with Rahul Gandhi on his yatra. PM Modi front foots mega counter-strike. Does Soros's rant confirm the foreign hand theory? Big focus on News Track.
So is that foreign hand theory now confirmed? And this time it's the BJP that's on the front foot and asking that question, ye rishta kya kehlata hai? We'll get you much more on this. BJP Vice President Jay Panda joins me in a moment. I'm Gaurav Sawant as always. Let's get started with the headlines at 8. Election Commission declares Eknath Shinde as the real Shiv Sena Pati. Shinde faction gets the bow and arrow symbol and the name Shiv Sena. Income Tax Department's damning charges against the BBC after 3 days of searches. The British broadcaster stands accused of disproportionate profits and evading tax on certain remittances. Two suspected cow smugglers abducted and allegedly burnt alive in Haryana. Their family accuses the Bajrang Dal Gau Rakshak Monu Manesar. He denies the charge. Big win for the Aam Aadmi Party over Delhi mayor polls. The Supreme Court says LG nominated members cannot vote. Asks for notice for poll date to be issued within 24 hours. Big Nataka over state budget in Karnataka. Congress netas wear flowers on their ears to accuse the Basavaraj Bommai government of fooling people. And I want to begin this broadcast with an exclusive, India Today exclusive news break. Did George Soros try to scuttle the Rafale aircraft deal? Remember, these fighter jets desperately required by the Indian Air Force in a very critical period. But was there an attempt made to derail this deal? Legal advocacy group Sherpa sought a judicial investigation into the Rafale deal. And this legal advocacy group Sherpa is linked to a George Soros group. Sherpa lists Soros's Open Society Foundation as a support ground on its website. Is this more evidence of an attempt by George Soros to destabilize India? And does that stand completely exposed? I quickly want to cut across to India Today's Shiv Arur for more on this big story. Shiv, explain the link between Sherpa and the Rafale deal. Was it an attempt to scuttle the procurement of the 36 fighter jets so desperately needed by the Indian Air Force?
Gaurav, here are the facts. Sherpa is a strategic litigation and advocacy group that is partially funded by the NGOs of George Soros. And one of the main high-profile things it did in 2018 and 2019 was to, petition the National Fraud Office, the Financial Investigation Office of the French government, to investigate the Indian Rafale deal of 2016. This was in the wake of certain reports in Mediapart, which is an investigations website in France. Now, obviously, nothing came of it, but around the time that Sherpa took up this petition with the French office, it is around that time that Rahul Gandhi, at the fag end of the Gujarat elections, began to talk about the Rafale deal. Now, I'm not making that direct link, even though George Soros's vice president in India, was walking with Rahul Gandhi at the Bharat Jodo Yatra in October. But the very fact that Sherpa saw good reason to pick up the Rafale issue, make it a big petition, publicize it in a big way, and then see it almost dominate the 2018-2019 political campaign of the opposition, chiefly the Congress party, appears to, suggest some kind of a link. Did the Congress simply see it and pick it up from there? Remember, the Rafale deal, the Rafale campaign, many people have written about it, and it is well known that many of the things that came out of the investigation allegation, some of the leaked papers, etc., Gaurav, had actually come from competitors of the Rafale.
Yes.
So it wasn't a clean sort of campaign. The allegations never established any so-called money trail. Many of the allegations that were thrown were, of a innuendo and political nature. So what exactly is it? Was George Soros's Sherpa associates the trigger for what became a larger campaign, which was then widely discredited?
Shiv, is then there merit in the government saying this is war against India? George Soros, anyway, according to the government, very clearly is a designated economic offender in the United Kingdom and has a history of accusations of interfering in democracies, including in Israel. Is he following the same template in India, Shiv?
Israel, the United Kingdom, and several other democratic nations, Gaurav. And given that, funds to the tune of, over $12 million have apparently been spent in the last couple of years, towards this very ambiguous heading of, democracy movements, etc. here in India, one wonders what exactly this funding is going into, because there are very few specifics on the, Open Society Foundation website about what manner of, work is actually being done. The fact that George Soros's organizations have dabbled in politics is not new, because he has very strong political views. He has, often called democratically elected governments fascist governments, as he is almost doing in this particular case with India. So his views have, have become more and more extreme, more and more polarizing over the years. But it is the facts and figures, the dollars and cents that will finally count. What kind of activities, movements, mobilizations is his money actually triggering here in India, a country that happens to be the world's largest democracy? I think that needs to be looked at much, much more closely.
Shiv, stay with me on this big story, because George Soros and his involvement with regime change, whether you look at glasnost or perestroika, and what subsequently happened to Soviet Union, or you look at Tiananmen Square, China you can understand, but India, the mother of democracies, this is where the interference sounds absolutely bizarre. But this billionaire philanthropist George Soros has taken a shot at the world's #1 democracy, at the world's oldest democracy. He's ranted about how the Adani controversy will weaken Prime Minister Narendra Modi and lead to what he terms is democratic revival in India. The Congress, of course, has distanced itself from George Soros, given the kind of criticism that's coming George Soros's way. But images have emerged of key aides of George Soros walking along with senior Congress leader and member of parliament from Wayanad, Rahul Gandhi, during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Team Modi is now front-footing a mega counter-attack.
I may be naive, but I expect a democratic revival in India.
The American investor believes that the Adani controversy will spark what he calls a democratic revival in India. Billionaire George Soros has sparked a furious debate after he spoke out on the Adani Hindenburg research papers at the Munich Security Conference and went on a complete anti-Modi tirade. He didn't stop with just democratic revival. Soros even said that Modi was losing his stranglehold now over the government.
Modi and business tycoon Adani are close allies. Their fate is intertwined. Adani Enterprises tried to raise funds in the stock market but failed. Adani is accused of stock manipulation and his stock collapsed like a house of cards. Modi is silent on the subject, but he will have to answer questions from foreign investors and in Parliament. This will significantly weaken Modi's stranglehold on India's federal government and open the door to push for much-needed institutional reforms. I may be naive, but I expect a democratic revival in India.
The BJP has now latched onto these comments by the tycoon philanthropist to reignite their conspiracy charge.
That he has pronounced funding of over $1 billion, particularly to target leaders like Prime Minister Modi, is significant. We as a nation state are, together with Prime Minister Modi, laying the foundation for the future of our country that will not only inherit our dreams, but a resilient and stronger economy.
So did the opposition choose to side with Soros and his democratic revival comment? Interestingly, the Congress, which is leading the attack on the Adani storm, distanced itself from Soros's comments, only to be embarrassed by these images of Soros's NGO, Open Society Foundation's India Vice President Salil Shetty, walking with Rahul Gandhi during his Bharat Jodo Yatra in October last year.
Why should we get into BJP's toolkit? What some Soros says somewhere, then Smriti responds. This is a jugalbandi we have nothing to do with. We don't want to get into this. Our demand is simple, and the country, the LIC policyholders demand answers. We demand a JPC.
George Soros is facing fire from all quarters, but it's not the first time that the billionaire has made these kinds of comments against Prime Minister Modi. Here's what he said about the abrogation of Article 370 in January 2020.
That leaves. The biggest and most frightening setback occurred in India, where the democratically elected Narendra Modi created a Hindu nationalist state, imposing punitive measures on Kashmir, a semi-autonomous Muslim region, and threatening to deprive millions of Muslims of their citizenship.
Soros's comment on the Hindenburg Research Report has put the focus again on how the Adani Group, in their defense just weeks ago, called the allegations an attack on India.
68 of these so-called 88 questions are like this: bogus, misrepresentation and outright lies. Either they have not done any research, they've just cut, copy, paste and did a hit job, which what we believe it is, a malicious hit job on the FPO. Or, which is even worse, they actually did the so-called research. They knew this because it's the same accounting note, and they're deliberately misleading the public.
Soros may be a man with an agenda. His credentials as a philanthropist are undisputed, but so is his bias against Narendra Modi and his political activism. Bureau Report, India Today.
A democratic revival in India.
Before I throw this open for a wider discussion, let me quickly cut across to BJP's National Vice President Jay Panda joining me on the news track. Mr. Panda, the opposition asks, why is the government so concerned about the rant of a 92-year-old philanthropist investor at the Munich Security Conference?
George Soros claiming to stand for democracy is like Dawood Ibrahim claiming to stand for law and order. His notorious track record is there for all to see. I would urge the viewers of your esteemed program to search him online. You'll find many very, very worrying things about George Soros. For example, the New York Post, which is a major and the oldest newspaper in the US, has done a series of investigative reports which lays it out in plain sight. He funds a far leftist agenda of destabilizing societies and grabbing political power. Now, you saw in that video that menacing tone, and he has been targeting India for some years now. You already referred to his attack on the UK, and that's been his modus operandi. His modus operandi, he's never built anything. He's a speculator. He's not an industrialist or somebody who has built assets or businesses. He has benefited from actually causing them to collapse like he did on the British pound all those years ago. And his track record is of funding these far leftist ideologues, what we in India would call urban Naxals, into positions of power in the US and in other countries, and you can see the havoc that they are wreaking. Now, we should not take, he's as you said, he's 92 years old and he has megalomania, as you can see from that menacing tone in that video. We really shouldn't worry. But he does have a knack for building a nexus with people.
Okay.
Just like he has done in other countries, he's building a nexus with people in India, positioning them in positions of influence in the media, in activism. So we should worry if he's targeting India and wanting to bring down.
I'll come to that nexus and people in position of power or influence in just a moment. But for the moment, I want to quickly just stay on what he said. If George Soros believes that Prime Minister Modi's links with Adani will weaken, or his alleged links will weaken what he describes is as Modi's stranglehold on the federal government, how is that, sir, declaring war on India?
Look, he's talking about a democratic revival, but in fact, Prime Minister Modi is the single most popular democratically elected leader in the world. He gets hundreds of millions of votes more than any other person who seeks votes in the whole world. Now, we saw a democratic revival in India in 2014 and consolidation in 2019, when after nearly 3 decades of political quagmire, the people of India re-elected with Prime Minister Modi at its head, a party to have a full majority in parliament. Now that's democracy. But the reality is, Soros deliberately funds and champions causes, as I said, to destabilize society and to grab political power. In India, he has been championing the cause of illegal immigrants, like the Rohingyas. He has done the same in the US. He champions open borders. He champions the complete overthrow of constitutions and a democratic way of running governments. If you look at the investigative stories done on him by the New York Post, you will see that he's got a toolkit which he's replicating in India.
Okay.
And we should take it seriously.
Okay, so you talk of a toolkit and you talk about George Soros putting people in positions of influence. Will the Narendra Modi government then probe these individuals or organizations who may be on the payroll of either George Soros individually or the Open Society Foundation? Who are his Indian collaborators, sir?
Of course we should. Now, just like he has done in other countries, here he has been championing many of these people, and the record is out there. Those who are in academia, those who are in so-called think tanks, some of them in media, exact same copycat version of what he does in other countries. Now, he's attacking Mr. Adani. Now, as we have made it very, very clear, the BJP has nothing to hide at all on that front. You can go and ask any of the top industrialists of India whether they can have a quid pro quo with the Narendra Modi-led BJP, and they will all tell you that's not possible. And so there are institutions which are looking into that, and we don't need to get into that. But George Soros's track record is out there for everyone to see. I urge all the viewers of your channels to look it up online, look at the investigative reports on him, and what you see should concern you about the way he's targeting in India. We should not take it lightly.
And do you, Mr. Panda, then see a pattern? The Hindenburg report, the BBC report, the statement made at the Munich Security Conference, and the surround sound around at least the first two?
Well, absolutely, because it's very clear. He makes it very clear in that menacing sounding video that he wants regime change. He wants to disempower Prime Minister Modi, who is elected by the world's largest electorate in the history of humankind. He makes it very clear. So, and there are people, the Congress may try to distance itself from it, but apart from the videos you have shown, many of the people who are taking funding from him, many of the organizations who are taking funding from him have been organizing these kind of activities to try and bring the country down. Now, one of the things that Soros does, well, for example, Soros champions in the name of environmentalism the stoppage of any kind of developmental work. And you've seen a lot of that in India, and you've seen some of these people funded by him. You've also seen the chaos that he creates by funding people who want to depose the state, people who are violent, people who indulge in riots and physical damage, not just in shorting corporate stocks.
What does the government intend to do about this? What will the government do? Will there be an investigation into those who've received these funds and actions subsequent to receiving those funds?
Well, let me not speak on behalf of the government, but as a member of the BJP, I can certainly tell you that this is a party which is committed to the development and the growth of India. You can see the high regard in which India is being held today as a result of the kind of leadership that Prime Minister Modi has provided India. We have turned from a country that used to beg help from other nations to one that now provides help to hundreds of other nations, for example, during the pandemic and economic support after the pandemic. Now, what a government which is run by the BJP will not take lightly these kind of threats. And obviously, if these kind of nefarious activities are out in the open like this, they need to be investigated and action needs to be taken against those who are his front men to carry out this toolkit in India.
So is this just a George Soros, or do you see a wider foreign hand? Because while you know, India is the mother of democracy, this is India's G20 presidency, you have a lot of criticism coming your way, whether it's action that's taken against a foreign broadcasting corporation in our country, or others like George Soros claiming that action on Modi or weakening of Modi will actually lead to what he calls is revival of democracy.
Like I said, George Soros talking about reviving democracy is like Dawood Ibrahim talking of reviving law and order. Do take a look at his track record. But in answer to your question, of course there is a nexus. The BBC, the BBC hit job. It's not a documentary in any sense of the word. It's a documentary would have cited the evidence on the other side. A documentary would have cited evidence that when the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Prime Minister Modi, was asking for support of police and paramilitary personnel from other states, the Congress-run states refused to send him that help. They would have pointed out about the fact that the specious allegations against Modi ji were not just overrun at any one stage of the judicial process, but at every stage. Now, the BBC has long since lost its credibility as a news purveyor. They take funding from China. They take funding from agencies which clearly have agendas to run, and they are hand in glove with several other such organizations. You are aware of a major Western alleged news organization which advertised for its India correspondent that the person must be anti-government. Now, neutrality is not their objectivity, or journalism is not their main aim. Their aim is to bring down India.
Okay, we'll track that story closely. For joining me here, Jay Panda, National Vice President of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Let me now throw this open for a wider discussion. Joining me on the news track is Prasenjit Bose. He's an economist and an activist. Adwaita Kala is author, screenwriter. Syed Abbas is a political analyst. Also with me is Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow at the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. Prasenjit Bose, is there merit in the government saying Soros is waging war against India, trying to destabilize a democratically elected government?
Well, I think that this is a completely exaggerated kind of assessment. And the relevance of George Soros to what is happening in India is very limited. I think it is basically trying to erect a straw man. And I see this intervention and the entire controversy surrounding what a over 90-year-old person is saying, sitting miles away from our country, as a needless interference, but also as a digression from the very, very serious situation that has emerged after the revelations vis-a-vis the Adani business group. And today also the Supreme Court has made very serious observations. The government tried to influence the Supreme Court probe, which the Supreme Court today has refused to toe the line of the government in setting up the expert committee. It has suggested that it is going to set up an independent committee. Yes. I think those are more relevant debates.
No, but my question is, isn't that proof that India is a functional democracy? The government cannot get away with whatever it wants. There is a Supreme Court. And the fact that you and I are talking about it on live television, there is free press. But Abhijit Iyer Mitra, is the government overreacting, or are the red flags going up just in time?
Look, I do think, Gaurav, that the red flags are going up just in time. Okay, because remember, there is a lot of circumstantial evidence in this case. Mr. Soros has a record of interfering in election processes across the globe. Right. He was absolutely key. He was one of the biggest fundraisers of both Hillary and Biden. That isn't election interference because he is an American citizen. But you look at what happened in Georgia, the Rose Revolution, he always underplays his involvement. Right. So initially he was saying he did not support the Maidan thing in Ukraine in 2014, and then finally admitted in an interview that he did. In the Rose Revolution that happened in Georgia, he said, he still says, I had nothing to do with it, except the Georgian Prime Minister and several Georgian ministers have openly come out and thanked him and said, we couldn't have done this without you. Okay. The third thing you have to look at, what are his associations? What does he fund? Right. And basically, if you look down at every one of the fundings of the Open Society Foundation, it not just links into the Congress, but it also links into a lot of organizations out here that are just plain vitriolically anti-government. So the issue here is you have on one side a lot of close contacts and on the other a proven track record of destabilizing governments.
Respond, Asad Abbas. George Soros, as Abhijit Iyer Mitra also points out, is spending big money to engineer a regime change even in India. And look at the bias at the World Economic Forum at Davos. He claimed democratically elected Modi government is a setback to society. He claims punitive measures are imposed on Kashmir, a semi-autonomous Muslim region. And he claims Muslims are being deprived of citizenship. Asad Abbas, you tell me, are Muslims being deprived of citizenship? Any of what he claims, is it true?
Well, firstly, Gaurav Sahab, I truly believe that this man, George Soros, is a man of questionable character and integrity. Undoubtedly, like the point was made, he is nothing but somebody who's been an economic war criminal. Also, if you understand this so-called businessman, he has zilch effect on the democracy revival of India. That is the reason why Jairam Ramesh came out in the open and said what he said does not matter in terms of the opposition or the parties in India. Therefore, Smriti Irani and Jairam Ramesh, for one of its kind, taking a unanimous stand on the same. Let us understand, coming to the Adani Hindenburg report, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has rejected the sealed cover names, and I'm very glad. This shows that the judiciary is indeed alive in India, and he will, independent, with full public confidence, choose the members led by a former Supreme Court retired judge. Here we need to understand that George Soros must not be taken too seriously by a Smriti Irani or the BJP.
No, but Adwaita, should he not be taken seriously? Or that big money that's being funneled, millions of dollars already and $1 billion set aside, it's a very serious threat to this country, Adwaita.
Oh, he should be taken very seriously. I don't think he should be dismissed as any kind of old, tottering old man who's just trying to keep busy and making random statements on global forums. That's not what he's doing at all. Remember, money buys influence, and George Soros has had decades of using his money to buy influence in countries across the globe. India post-COVID has been in a situation wherein the world's eyes are on us. Now, this also happens to coincide with Prime Minister Modi's leadership, making him a leader who has made a difference on the global scale. Now, we cannot diminish that. And once you see that happening with India being called the pharmacy of the world, hosting the G20, the kind of bonhomie, the recent release by President Biden about the number of jobs being created in the United States. For heaven's sake, an Indian company creating jobs in the United States, whether you want to give Modi credit for that or not, that headline itself is something that we've never seen in our lifetime. So there are a lot of good things happening for India under Prime Minister Modi.
Oh, is that why he's being targeted?
Absolutely. And Gaurav, make no mistake, this is an entire ecosystem at work, ecosystem that is funded by George Soros. So you have The Guardian, you have the New York Times coming out with editorials, the editorial boards coming out with editorials about lack of freedom in India. You have the BBC documentary by a guy, backed by a guy called Jack Straw, who faked WMDs in Iraq so they could do a regime change there. Unfortunately for them, India isn't a banana republic. We have a constitution, we have institutions. So they can't come in here and say we're up to this sort of weapon of mass destruction.
I'll get Prasenjit and Abbas to respond to the points you've raised. But Abhijit, Merit in the BJP is saying it's a joint operation between Soros and a certain ecosystem in India that Advaita also refers to. Is this, as the BJP says, Sur and Tal working in tandem between Soros and certain people in India?
Unfortunately, it is, Gaurav. Normally I'm not the type to believe in conspiracy theories. The problem is we have a lot more tangible evidence of collusion between, say, the Congress and George Soros, namely the former Prime Minister's daughter, Amrit Singh, working directly for the Open Societies Foundation. And a lot of other touch points than we do between, say, Adani and Mr. Modi, than Adani and the BJP. Okay, what we have in the Adani BJP case is a lot of allegations. Here we have actual evidence of people working for the Congress, also being funded and working with George Soros.
No, but where is that
Right.
evidence?
Now,
Working for the Congress, the former Prime Minister's daughter is not working for the Congress, sir. And since she is not here and the Congress is not here to defend
Mr. Sunil
this.
Shetty, Sunil Shetty or Satvik Shetty, whatever, marching with the thing. There are too many touch points here. Mr. Adani is not working for the BJP, right?
Okay.
But they claim there is collusion.
Okay.
By the Congress's own measure of how it judges the Adani-Modi relationship.
Okay, Prasenjit
there
Bose
is
wants to
far
respond to
greater
you.
evidence against the Congress and George Soros.
Okay, Prasenjit Bose, George Soros spending big money to engineer a regime change in India. Look at his bias and the point that's being made that a political party or NGOs in India are dancing to his tunes, sir.
I think it's a laughable claim, whoever is making it, and it only reminds, and I'm quite alarmed, because one is reminded of what Indira Gandhi used to say during the emergency. This entire, ghost of outside intervention being used to actually crack down on democratic dissent in India. And whatever George Soros has said, he doesn't stay in India. He doesn't know actually what is the state of affairs in India. I want to only like to say that why are we paying so much attention to someone like George Soros? Why aren't we investigating the whole question of Vinod Adani? Who is Vinod Adani?
Gautam Adani.
What is his role in the Adani enterprise? Why are we not asking those questions?
Okay, both Abhijit and Advaita have a smile on their faces.
Someone like George Soros. That is
Respond, Abhijit. Why react so strongly to George Soros? He does not even stay in India.
Look, there are two options. There are two options that the Congress has against Mr. Adani. One is a JPC, and you know, Gaurav, just as well as I do, that a JPC will have a BJP majority because it's determined by the composition of the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. The second option that they have is going to the Supreme Court. Okay, they keep insisting on the JPC, they refuse to go to the Supreme Court. Do I believe there should be an investigation into Adani? Absolutely, yes, we should have an investigation. The problem out here is that there is also a big question mark over the accuser. You must always take the bona fides of the accuser also into account in addition in an investigation. The problem here is we know nothing about Hindenburg research. We don't, excuse me, sir, I didn't interrupt you. I did not interrupt you. I would expect the same courtesy from you. Thank you. So Hindenburg, we don't know where their office is. We don't know who their investors are. We know nothing about them, except that their modus operandi, short selling, is what made George Soros his fortune. You've seen this over and over again, be it the 1992 sinking of the pound, the late 1990s sinking of the baht, and the Thai the East Asia financial crisis that came about as a result.
What is your opinion about Adani?
Modus operandi is exactly... Please.
Okay.
Gaurav, I mean, I can't talk if he's going to keep cutting me off.
No,
I think
Mr. Bose,
Mr. Bose is betting for the Adani conglomerate.
Okay, Mr. Bose, after Mr. Iyer finishes, I'm coming to you. Respond when the question is put to you, sir. Abhijit is making a point. I'll come to you immediately after that. Go on, sir.
Now, remember, Gaurav, do you remember how he triggered the 1992 run on the British pound?
Yeah.
It wasn't very expensive. It was about he only put in about $6-7 billion of his own worth of pounds. He sold them betting on the pound tanking, and he invested in the Deutschmark at that time because this was pre-Euro. hoping that the fleeing investors from the pound would purchase Deutsche Marks, which is exactly what happened, and he made a killing on it.
And
that
he's
is
been
short selling.
proclaimed an
This
offender,
is
economic
exact-
offender. Okay. Okay,
Imagine
gentlemen, give me a moment. I have breaking news coming in from Mumbai. Uddhav Thackeray is reacting to the Shiv Sena symbol bow and arrow going to Eknath Shinde. Listen in, Uddhav Thackeray.
की 75 वर्षाचं स्वातंत्र्य आता संपलेलं आहे आणि आता देशातली लोकशाही संपवून आम्ही बेबंदशाहीला सुरुवात केलेली आहे. आजपर्यंत आपण अनेक उदाहरणं पाहिलेली आहेत की जिथे सरकारची दादागिरी चाललेली आहे. अगदी न्याय यंत्रणा सुद्धा आपल्या दबावाखाली कशी येईल याच्याबद्दल गेले काही दिवस केंद्रीय कायदा मंत्री बोलतायत, राज्यसभेचे अध्यक्ष बोलतायत. त्यांना अधिकार पाहिजे. मग असंच जर काय चालू राहिलं तर मी जे मगाशी म्हटलं की देशातली लोकशाही संपलेली आहे, लोकशाहीला सुरुवात करत आहोत हे बोलण्याचं धाडस तरी सर्व यंत्रणा घेऊन एकट्या लढणाऱ्या पंतप्रधानांनी दाखवला पाहिजे. आजचा हा जो काही निर्णय आहे तो अत्यंत अनपेक्षित आहे. कारण जवळपास 6 महिने ही लढाई सर्वोच्च न्यायालयात सुद्धा सुरू आहे. तिची आता 21 तारखेपासून सलग सुनावणी सुरू आहे. मधल्या काळात मी आपल्याशी बोललो होतो की तो निकाल जोपर्यंत लागत नाही तोपर्यंत निवडणूक आयोगाने कोणताही निकाल देऊ नये. हे जर का केवळ आणि केवळ निवडून आलेल्या लोकप्रतिनिधींच्या आकड्यांवरती ठरवायला लागलो तर मग मात्र कोणी धनाढ्य माणूस निवडून आलेल्या आमदार विकत घेऊन पक्षाचा सर्वेसर्वा होऊ शकतो, देशाचा पंतप्रधान किंवा राज्याचा मुख्यमंत्री सुद्धा होऊ शकतो, हे सुद्धा मी मागे बोललेलो आहे. निवडणूक आयोगाबद्दल एवढंच मी म्हणेन की जी एक केस प्रशांत भूषण यांची एक केस सुरू आहे, नेमकी आता माझ्या लक्षात नाहीये, पण त्यांनी निवडणूक आयुक्ताबद्दलच शंका व्यक्त केलेली आहे की 24 तासात ही फाईल झाली कशी आणि याची नेमणूक झाली कशी. मला आता असं वाटायला लागलेलं आहे की जसं न्यायाधीश नेमण्याची एक प्रक्रिया असते तशीच प्रक्रिया आता निवडणूक आयुक्त नेमण्यासाठी सुद्धा विरोधी पक्षांना सोबत घेऊन सुरुवात करण्याची आता गरज लागलेली आहे. राजमान्यता देणं काही जणांना भूषणावर वाटत असेल. आज जी दयनीय अवस्था आमच्यातल्या गद्दारांची झालेली आहे, मिंदे गटाची आणि त्यांना मांडीवर घेतलेल्या जगातल्या सगळ्यात मोठ्या पक्षाची जी एक दयनीय अवस्था झालेली आहे, त्यांना स्वतः लढण्याची हिंमत नाहीये. मी अनेकदा त्यांना आव्हान दिलेलं आहे की हिंमत असेल तर निवडणुका घ्या, अगदी लोकसभा पासून महापालिका तुम्ही एकत्र घ्या. ती निवडणूक घेण्याची काही त्यांची धनुष्यबाण आणि शिवसेना हे मिंदे गटाला दिलेलं आहे. म्हणजेच असं की कदाचित येत्या 2 महिन्यामध्ये निवडणुका सुद्धा जाहीर होऊ शकतात. त्यांना कोणत्याही परिस्थितीत मुंबई महापालिका जिंकायची, मुंबईच्या हातामध्ये दारात उभी करायची आहे. ते जे काही त्यांचं स्वप्न आहे ते स्वप्न धनुष्यबाण त्यांना देऊन ते साकार करण्याचा प्रयत्न कदाचित करतील. न सांगावं जेवढा अन्याय यंत्रणांचा वापर करून तुम्ही आमच्यावरती कराल त्या प्रत्येक अन्यायाचा बदला महाराष्ट्रातली जनता घेतल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही याची मला खात्री आहे. तरी त्यांनी धनुष्यबाण कागदावरच आहे, पण जे दुसरं खरं धनुष्यबाण आहे ते आजही माझ्याकडे आणि ते कायमचं माझ्याकडे राहणार आहे. ते तुम्हाला मी आता दाखवतोय. असं वाटलं असेल की आता शिवसेना संपली, शिवसेना ही अशी लेचीपेची नाही. पहिल्या दिवसापासून तेव्हा सुद्धा आमच्याकडे एक निशाणी नव्हती. हा धनुष्यबाण ज्याचा उल्लेख मी वारंवार करतो तोच हा धनुष्यबाण आहे. त्याच्यावरती कुंकू सुद्धा आपण पाहू शकता. हा शिवसेना प्रमुखांच्या देवाऱ्यातला आज सुद्धा आमच्या पूजेत असलेला धनुष्यबाण आहे आणि याची पूजा ही माननीय शिवसेना प्रमुखांनी स्वतःच्या हाताने केलेली आहे. या धनुष्यबाणाचं तेज, ती जी काही शक्ती आहे त्यांना दाखवल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही याची मला खात्री आहे, मला विश्वास आहे. आणि हा जो धनुष्यबाण आहे तो आमच्या पूजेमधला आहे, तो पूजेतच राहणार, तो पूजेतच राहणार. ठीक आहे.
The bow and arrow which is
जी
with
काही
me,
लढाई झाली
which it will be always worshipped.
रावणाकडे पण धनुष्यबाण असेल, रामाकडे पण असेल, पण शेवटी
Ravan also had bow and arrow and Rama also had bow and arrow.
झाला आणि 100 कौरव एकत्र आले म्हणून काय पांडव हरले नव्हते. सत्याचा विजय नेहमी होत आलेला आहे आणि सत्याचा विजय सर्वसामान्य नागरिकांना आणि मी तमाम अन्याय विरुद्ध जे पेटून उठलेले आहेत की अनेकांना हे मान्य नाहीये. हा अन्याय जो काही झालेला आहे, अत्याचार होतोय, लोकशाहीवरती अत्याचार होतोय. मी मागे एकदा असं म्हटलं होतं की हा छत्रपतींचा महाराष्ट्र आहे, अंध धृतराष्ट्र नाहीये. तो आपल्या डोळ्यासमोर लोकशाहीचा घेणार नाही. या निर्णयाच्या विरुद्ध आम्ही सर्वोच्च न्यायालयात तर जाणारच आहोत. आम्हाला खात्री आहे की सर्वोच्च न्यायालयामध्ये याचा निकाल लागेलच. आणि दुसरी जी अपात्रतेची केस ही तिथे चालू आहे, त्याच्यामध्ये सुद्धा जर घटना मानून निर्णय लागला तर अनेक घटना तज्ञांनी सांगितलेले की निर्णय काय लागणार, अपात्र होणार म्हणजे होणारच असं घटना तज्ञांचं मत आहे. हे मी आपल्याशी बोलताना मला आणखीन एका गोष्टीची आठवण करून द्यायची की गेले काही दिवस काही लोक म्हणजे त्याच्यात एक केंद्रीय लघुसूक्ष्म का असेना पण केंद्रीय मंत्री आहेत, त्यांनी सांगितलं होतं आपल्याला की द्या ब्रेकिंग न्यूज, धनुष्यबाण यांनाच मिळणार. हे कसं काय? म्हणजे हा काही ठरवलेला कट आहे का?
A union minister has said that we will be giving a breaking news.
केवढ्या मोठ्या पातळीवरची लोक सामील झालेली आहेत हे सुद्धा आता जनतेला कळायला लागलेलं आहे. कारण आपले राज्याचे उपमुख्यमंत्री सुद्धा मध्ये म्हणाले होते की हे धनुष्यबाण यांनाच मिळणार. केंद्रीय मंत्री म्हणतात धनुष्यबाण यांनाच मिळणार. दिलं गेलं हे धनुष्यबाण असं ओरवाडून तुम्ही घ्यायचा प्रयत्न केला तरी ते तुम्ही ओरवाडून घेऊ शकणार नाही. कारण हे शिवसेनेचं धनुष्यबाण शिवसेना प्रमुखांच्या पूजेतलं आहे. तुम्ही आतापुरतं तुम्हाला वाटत असेल, आता तिकडे जल्लोष चालला असेल, आपली चोरी पचली म्हणून चोरांना आनंद झाला असेल. शेवटी चोर तो चोर असतो, त्याला स्वतः करण्याची काही मर्दानगी नसते, तो नामर्दच अशी चोरी करू शकतो. म्हणून नामर्द किती जरी मातला तरी तो मर्द होऊ शकत नाही, हे सत्य आहे. त्याच्यामुळे आम्ही जोपर्यंत शुक्रवार आहे लवकरात लवकर आम्ही जाणार, तोपर्यंत त्यांना धनुष्यबाणाचे पेढे खाऊ द्या. धनुष्यबाण त्यांनी चोरल्याचा आनंद त्यांना मिळू द्या. शेवटी चोर बाजारालाच जर का मान्यता मिळणार असेल तर मग बाकीच्या बाजाराला काहीच अर्थ राहत नाहीये. एकूणच सगळे बाजार गुणगे म्हणजेच लोकशाही हे आपल्या देशाला परवडणारं नाहीये. म्हणून पुन्हा एकदा सांगतो की शिवसैनिकांनो, शिवसेना प्रेमीनो, कुठेही खचू नका. मी तर कुठे खचलेलं नाहीये. मी पहिल्या दिवशी सुद्धा सांगितलं होतं की ही लढाई आता शेवटपर्यंत आपल्याला लढावीच लागेल आणि विजय आपलाच होणार. फक्त हिंमत सोडू नका, जिद्द खचून देऊ नका. मैदानात उतरलोय, आता विजयाशिवाय माघारी पडायचं नाही, एवढं मी सगळ्यांना आवाहन करतो. बाकी आणखीन मला जे काही बोलायचं असेल ते येत्या 1-2 दिवसामध्ये मी वाटलं तर पुन्हा बोलेन. पण तूर्त मला असं वाटतं काही काळ पचली अशी वाटत असेल, पण ही चोरी त्यांना पचणार नाहीये. परत सांगतो की त्यांना शिवसेना प्रमुखांचा फोटो चोरावा लागतोय, त्यांना शिवसेना हे नाव चोरावं लागलंय, त्यांना शिवसेनेचं धनुष्यबाण चोरावं लागलेलं आहे. असे चोर हे नामर्दानो, तुम्हाला ही चोरी पचली अशी वाटत असेल तरी ती तशी पचणारी नाही, एवढं लक्षात ठेवा. आणि जनता याचा पुरेपूर बदला कोणत्याही येणाऱ्या निवडणुकीत घेतल्याशिवाय राहणार नाही.
आज जो निर्णय घेतलेला आहे केंद्रीय निवडणूक आयोगाने त्याचा परिणाम जो न्यायप्रविष्ट सध्या न्यायालयात चालू आहे प्रकरण त्यावरती होणार
मला नाही वाटत. कारण ज्या वेळेला हा विषय आला होता तेव्हा आमच्या वकिलांनी सांगितलं होतं न्यायमूर्तीला की ह्याचा निकाल लागत नाही तोपर्यंत निवडणूक आयोगाकडे ही केस देऊ नका. कारण ज्या पद्धतीने निवडणूक आयोगाचे वकील हे तिकडे कोर्टामध्ये फडफडते
our lawyer had said that till the decision in the court is decided, till the order from the court comes, the issue should not be decided at the election commission.
शेवटी न्याय संस्था ही स्वतंत्र आहे आणि आमचा न्यायमूर्तींवरती सर्वोच्च न्यायालयावरती नितांत विश्वास आहे. संपूर्ण आता
and we have belief in the judiciary, we believe in the judiciary.
आज जे न्यायमूर्ती बसले त्यांच्यासमोर ही केस चालणार आहे. प्रत्येक कंगोरा तपासून घेऊन लोकशाहीसाठी म्हणून, लोकशाही जिवंत ठेवण्यासाठी म्हणून या केसकडे केवळ देशाचंच नाही तर जगाचं लक्ष आहे. कारण या देशामध्ये शेवटी काय चाललंय परदेशातनं सुद्धा बघतायत. जर का माध्यमांच्या कार्यालयावरती धाडी टाकल्या जात असतील आणि पक्ष असे संपवले जात असतील, यावं की नाही हे परकीय गुंतवणूकदार सुद्धा आता बघत असतील आणि परदेशात राहणारे भारतीयांची सुद्धा याच्यावरती भवितव्य ठरणार आहे.
keeping an eye on this development.
आता हा महत्वाचा मुद्दा तुम्ही आता हा अत्यंत महत्वाचा मुद्दा आहे. हा मुद्दा आभार मानतो कारण हे गेले काही दिवस यांनी जे काही निवडणूक आयुक्तांनी थोतांड केलं ते थोतांड एवढं भयानक आहे की आमच्याकडे त्यांच्याकडनं लेखी मागणी काय आहे, तुम्ही आम्हाला तुमच्या सदस्यांची पदाधिकाऱ्यांची शपथपत्र द्या. ती शपथपत्र आम्ही दिलेली आहेत. तुम्ही तुमच्या सदस्यांची
We have given all the statements, all the documents of our representatives or of our party members to the election commission.
त्यांनी जे मागितलं ते त्या फॉर्मॅटमध्ये आम्ही दिलं. मग हे जर शेण खायचं होतं, निवडणूक आयुक्तांनी जे काही शेण खाल्लेलं आहे ते त्याने शेणच खायचं होतं तर आम्हाला खटाटोप करायला का लावला?
साहेब उपस्थित होतो तो राजकीय प्रश्न. मुळात आता तुमच्या ही निकालानंतर मुख्यमंत्री एकनाथ शिंदेची प्रतिक्रिया आहे की बाळासाहेबांचे विचार माझेच होते, आमचेच होते, मूळ शिवसेना आम्हाला मिळाली. दुसरीकडे भाजपचे नेते स्पष्ट म्हणतात की तुम्ही हिंदुत्वाचा त्याग केला, काँग्रेसची
हिंदुत्वाचा त्याग केला म्हणजे काय केलं? नाही हिंदुत्वाचा त्याग केला म्हणजे काय केलं असं त्यानं म्हणायचंय. मी काँग्रेस बरोबर जर का भारतीय जनता पक्षाच्या पाठीत केल्यानंतर, शिवसेनेच्या पाठीत वार केल्यानंतर आम्हाला काँग्रेस राष्ट्रवादीबरोबर जायला लागलं म्हणून आम्ही जर का हिंदुत्वाचा त्याग केला असेल तर मोहन भागवत मशिदीत गेले ते हिंदुत्व त्यांनी सोडलं नाही का? काल परवाकडे नरेंद्र मोदी येऊन चपाती लाटून गेले ते त्यांनी हिंदुत्व सोडलं नाही का? म्हणजे त्यांनी काही केलं तरी त्यांनी ते हिंदुत्व, म्हणजे उद्या त्यांनी नमाज पडला तरी आम्ही त्यांना हिंदू मानायचं. बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंचा विजय हा बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंचे विचारताना कधी कळलेच नाही. कारण बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंनी कधी कोणाचे गुलाम व्हा हा विचार कधीच दिला नव्हता. अन्यायाची लढा, अन्यायाला लाथ मारा आणि ती लाथ मी त्यावेळेला मारली.
Bala Saheb Thackeray had always said that never be a slave to anyone. He always stated that they should fight against injustice.
दुसऱ्याचं चिन्ह चोरायचं आणि जिंकलं की नाही, जिंकू शकत नाही ते तसे. पण त्यांची दयनीय अवस्था मी परत सांगतो की एवढी झाली की त्यांना महाराष्ट्रामध्ये शिवसेना, बाळासाहेब ह्याशिवाय भाजपा निवडणुकीत पुढे जाऊ शकत नाही हे त्यांना कळून चुकले. महाराष्ट्रामध्ये मोदी नाव चालत नाही हे त्यांना कळलेलं आहे. म्हणून त्यांना आता शिवसेना एक जमाना होता त्यावेळेला सभेमध्ये मोदींचे मुखोटे घालून माणसं यायचे. आता ते सुद्धा बाळासाहेबांचे मुखोटे घालून लोकांसमोर फिरवू लागले. तर शेवटी मुखोटा हे कळतंय. मुखोटा घातला म्हणजे विचार नाही येत.
Put up Bala Saheb's mask, but in the end a mask remains a mask.
ही वेळ आहे की सर्व विरोधी पक्षांनी एकत्रित येऊन, कारण आज तुमच्यावरही पाळी आली आहे, इतर विरोधकांवरती अशा प्रकारचा
तसंच तुमच्यावरती पण पाळी येऊ शकते. कारण बीबीसीच्या कार्यालयावरती धाडी पडल्या आहेत. तुम्ही सुद्धा एकत्र आलं पाहिजे. विरोधी पक्ष म्हणून एकत्र आलं पण विरोधीच का? ज्यांना या देशात लोकशाही पाहिजे, आज टिकायला पाहिजे, देशात लोकशाही असायला पाहिजे हे ज्यांना वाटते त्या सगळ्यांनी एकत्र आलं पाहिजे, सगळ्या नागरिकांनी एकत्र आलं पाहिजे आणि सगळ्या प्रसार माध्यमांनी हे टिकलं पाहिजे. बघा लोकशाही आहे.
राष्ट्रीय विषय है सारे देश
क्या बताऊं, पूछो मुझे.
सारी चीजें
रहे हैं उसे किस तरह से दिख रहा है, क्योंकि पिछले 6 महीने से ये लड़ाई शुरू थी. आपने शपथ पत्र भी चुनाव आयोग को दी थी, लेकिन आज ये डिसीजन चुनाव आयोग का देखने को मिल रहा है.
ये सरासर अन्याय है. मैंने जैसे कहा कि अब अपने देश में तानाशाही की शुरुआत हो गई है. ऐसा ऐलान अपने प्रधानमंत्री कर दे तो ज्यादा अच्छा रहेगा, क्योंकि अब प्रजातंत्र तो देश में रहा नहीं. और जिस तरीके से उन्होंने आज फैसला सुनाया है, इतने दिनों से हमारे पीछे वो पड़े थे और जिस फॉर्मेट में उन्होंने जो भी मांगा वो एफिडेविट था, फिर हमारे जितने सारे मेंबर्स हैं उनके भी सदस्य पत्र थे, लाखों के संख्या में हमने उनको दे दिए थे। इसके बावजूद आज वो अगर कहते हैं कि सिर्फ विधायक और सांसदों के ऊपर पार्टी किसके पास है ये तय उन्होंने किया, तो ये अन्याय है। फिर इतने दिनों तक हमें क्यों ये सब एक्सरसाइज करवाया? पार्टी तो मेरे साथ है, आम जनता तो मेरे साथ है, और इसलिए मैंने कहा कि लगातार मैं चुनौती देते आया कि हिम्मत है तो सामने आ जाओ, मैदान में आ जाओ, चुनाव ले लो। चुनाव लेने की तो उनमें हिम्मत नहीं थी, लेकिन अब ऐसे लग रहा है, हालांकि आज अपने महाराष्ट्र में 2 उपचुनाव चल रहे हैं। मैं साधारणतः आपण असं मानतो की आचारसंहिता असताना तिकडे कोणी काही करू नये। अगर वो कानून खुद निवडणूक आयोग ही तोड़ रहा है, जिस राज्य में आचार संहिता जारी है उसी वक्त उन्होंने फैसला दिया है, तो अब ऐसे लगने लगा कि जिस जल्दबाजी में उन्होंने हमारा धनुष्यबाण और नाम उनको दे दिया है, तो शायद अब आने वाले 2-3 महीने में वो इलेक्शन भी ले लेंगे।
सर आपने कहा था कि लाल किले से प्रधानमंत्री को
ऐलान करना चाहिए। अगर देखो, हम तो कहते कि अब तो वो तो कहते कि पहले कांग्रेस ने भी सरकार गिराई थी, उन्होंने भी, अगर उन्होंने ऐसे किया था तो इसलिए तो आप तो लोगों ने चुनकर लाया ना वहां पर। अगर कांग्रेस ने उस वक्त इमरजेंसी लागू की थी तो आप भी इमरजेंसी लागू करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन उस वक्त इंदिरा जी में इतनी एक हिम्मत थी कि हाँ मैं इमरजेंसी देश में डिक्लेयर कर रही हूँ, उन्होंने डिक्लेयर किया था। ये तो इनमें हिम्मत नहीं है।
चुनाव आयोग निष्पक्ष नहीं है तब ये फैसला सुना है, क्या आप इस फैसले को सर्वोच्च न्यायालय में चुनौती?
बिल्कुल हम चुनौती देंगे।
आपको अभी भी निष्पक्ष लग रहा है?
बिल्कुल लग रहा है, और हमारा मानना है कि वो अभी आखिरी एक उम्मीद है। देश की जो कोर्ट है, देश का सर्वोच्च कोर्ट है, वो आखिरी उम्मीद रही है कि ये प्रजातंत्र देश में जिंदा रहे या मर जाए।
इलेक्शन कमिश्नर की नियुक्ति को लेकर नए सिस्टम की जरूरत है। बाळासाहेब ठाकरेंच्या भाषणाचा एक व्हिडिओ ट्वीट केलाय। सर, इलेक्शन कमिश्नर की नियुक्ति को लेकर जिस तरह से न्यायाधीशों की नियुक्ति हुई उस तरह का एक पैनल होना चाहिए।
पैनल होना चाहिए, क्योंकि ये तो सरासर दिख रहा है कि उनका गुलाम है। ये इलेक्शन कमिश्नर है और उनके खिलाफ प्रशांत भूषण जी केस भी लड़ रहे हैं। उन्होंने सब वो मुद्दे दिए हैं कि कैसे 24 घंटों में उनकी फाइल हिली, कैसे क्या हुआ। तो जिस तरीके से अब वो न्याय व्यवस्था भी अपने अमल के नीचे लेना चाहते हैं।
सर, भाजपा के लोग कह रहे हैं कि ये बाला साहब ठाकरे के विचारों की जीत है कि
भाजपा के कौन से लोग? क्योंकि भाजपा के असली लोग जो है, भाजपा के असली लोग दिखाई नहीं दे रहे, सब बाजारू लोग वहां है और वही ज्यादा बकते हैं।
सर, आपने पीएम को टारगेट करके एक बात कही।
पीएम को टारगेट नहीं मैंने किया, क्योंकि आप तो पीएम हैं, और अगर वो इसमें दखल अंदाजी देते तो ऐसे ये खुलेआम प्रजातंत्र की हत्या नहीं होती।
सर, फैसले से क्या शिवसैनिकों का मनोबल गिरेगा? पार्टी
नहीं,
हताश हो जाएगी?
बिल्कुल नहीं, शिवसेना तो और जोर से ऊपर आएगी। और अब मैं जो कह रहा हूँ लिख कर रखो, सिर्फ शिवसेना ही नहीं, आम जनता शिवसेना के साथ रहेगी।
उद्धव साहेब, आपण सांगितलं की कदाचित महापालिका किंवा स्थानिक स्वराज्य संस्थेच्या निवडणुका सुद्धा इतर लागल्या असतील, अशा परिस्थितीमध्ये तुमच्याकडे धनुष्यबाण नाही या पक्षातले निम्मे आमदार गेलेले आहेत, खासदार गेलेले आहेत, अशा परिस्थितीमध्ये पुढे निकाल काय लागतील असं वाटतं?
पुढे एक तर आम्ही एक मिनिट, हीच परिस्थिती होती जेव्हा अंधेरीची पोटनिवडणूक झाली, तेव्हाही माझ्याकडे धनुष्यबाण नव्हतं, तेव्हा सुद्धा गद्दारी केलेलीच होती। तरी सुद्धा ज्या वेळेला सार्वत्रिक निवडणूक जेवढं मतदान झालं होतं त्याच्याहून जास्त मतदान पोटनिवडणुकीत झाले, मशाल चिन्हावरती झाले। आता तर मला असं वाटतं की जेवढ्या नीचपणाने हे खेळतायत, कदाचित उद्या आमची मशाल सुद्धा काढून घेतील। हे पाहता तुम्ही रेकॉर्ड करून ठेवा। कदाचित उद्या हे केंद्र सरकारचे गुलाम जे तिकडे आयुक्त बसलेले आहेत, हे उद्या आमची मशाल पण काढून घेतील, आणि त्याची आम्ही सगळ्यांनी तयारी ठेवली पाहिजे की मशालीची धग काय असते यानं दाखवायला लागेल।
सर, सीएम आवास से लेकर जगह जगह पर सेलिब्रेशन हो रहा है।
करने दो ना, एक दिन तो चोरों को जश्न मनाने दो। सिर्फ उनको इतना ध्यान में रखना चाहिए कि ये चोरी है, अपना खुद का बनाया हुआ कुछ नहीं है। वो बाला साहब को चुराना चाहते हैं, धनुष्यबाण को चुराना चाहते हैं, तो चोरी में क्या मर्दानगी है?
Time now for us to slip into a break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
Over 3 decades, Business Today has delivered news, views and analysis like no other, chronicling India Inc.'s journey through time. Now, at 31 years, Business Today presents the future. Mission 2047, Road to India at 100. With Indian industry's biggest stalwarts and an exclusive interview with Google CEO Sundar Pichai.
The actions of the political class, the bad decisions, a run of bad luck as far as natural disasters are concerned, have all ended in a situation where Pakistan is, with no exaggeration, on the brink of collapse, possibly not very far away from, potentially defaulting on its external debt the same way that it happened with China. And it looks like the only people who are going to be paying for it are the Pakistani people.
Well, obviously, it is at the end of the day, the Pakistani people are paying the cost for that. But I think we have to find out that who is who in the system. I think Pakistan's military's approach to have this top-down approach for running the economy and the politics, that has backfired. So at the end of the day, the political class, they should have had their own experience. They should have got failed. They should have taken decision, but it has not been. They have not been allowed, and one person has been brought up, another has been brought down. So this has backfired at the end of the day. Second, when it comes to the the microeconomy at the moment and the macroeconomic condition, the macroeconomic condition definitely got worsened because of the political polarization in the country. And after the withdrawal, after Imran Khan was ousted from power, he went on to the roads and he didn't behave like a good politician.
And he's about to be arrested, it looks like.
Sorry?
And he's about to be arrested, it looks like. Any day now.
I don't think so. They are just making. If they had arrested him, they would have arrested him much earlier. But there is a possibility of everything. So because of the politicians in Pakistan have been arrested, so he could be arrested.
Okay.
So at the end of the day, what feels is this political polarization, having this top-down approach, and not letting even the political parties and everyone to take a decision. So the natural courts in the country is missing, where the people should have taken reins in their hands, and the military's position not to trust the political class for the national security decisions and for the other decisions is also a challenge for us.
Okay.
So these are some important macroeconomic problems which are letting all this happen.
Okay.
What do you make of the state's response, or some say the lack of it really, in this particular case?
Madam Vanakkam, firstly, I hung my head in shame as a Tamilian, as an Indian, that a person who is serving our country, putting his life in the service of others, is bludgeoned to death. And it shows the impunity with which DMK is defending the particular councillor. Especially in Tamil Nadu, it is nothing new, because with respect to DMK's mindset, and the same party has spoken about Dravidistan, the same party has spoken about a separate state. So, by their nature, their respect for men in uniform, the respect for army personnel was never there. And this incident has clearly shown the government itself is also brazenly defending in a way. The incident happened on February 8th. Now, after the yesterday's hue and cry, especially from the national media, which brought it to national attention, the local police were forced to arrest that councillor, which is after a good 6-7 days. Now the DMK spokesperson, one after the other, trying to defend their own councillor. This is what the whole India is seeing. But here, more importantly, madam, in this case, the whole village knows that they are serving in the Indian Army, has come on a holiday. It was a very trivial issue. And later the councillor, along with this group of people, he went in, attacked them with rods. He was admitted to a hospital. Even the treatment was not very properly given. Then later the army Jawan passed away. In this case, I find fault with the local police also, because now DMK as a party, we all know how they behave. Now we all know how the government behaves. For the local police, it is their men in uniform. It is like their brother. And they also did not take it very seriously. They were also very casual.
Co-presented by Star Health Insurance, the health insurance specialist. Co-presented by Panasonic, create today, enrich tomorrow. Co-powered by CX, it helps. Co-powered by Sera, this is your space. Play it your way.
Good evening, you're watching News Today at 9 p.m. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. Our big story. Well, it's a big win for the Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Eknath Shinde. The Election Commission has made him the real Senapati, given him both the Naam and Nishan, which is the symbol and the party name. Tumultuous evening for Uddhav Thackeray. We're going to break it down, what could be the political implications of it all. But first up, viewers, let me take you through the headlines. Election Commission declares Eknath Shinde as the real Senapati. Shinde faction gets the bow and arrow symbol and the name Shiv Sena. Uddhav Thackeray calls it death of democracy. US tycoon George Soros taunts Modi government on Adani. Union Minister Smriti Irani slams Soros for anti-India views. The Income Tax Department's damning charges against the BBC after 3 days of searches. The British broadcaster is accused of disproportionate profit and evading tax on certain remittances. The BBC also releases a statement, says will carry on work without any fear. Big win for Aam Aadmi Party over Delhi Mayor polls. Supreme Court says LG nominated members will not vote. Asks for notice for poll date to be issued within the next 24 hours. Adani hearing in Supreme Court order reserved after top court says it wants full transparency. Centre sealed cover suggesting names for panel to strengthen measures rejected. Two alleged cow smugglers abducted and burnt alive in Haryana. The family accuses Bajrang Dal Gaur Rakshak Monu Manesar. Karnataka overstate budget in Karnataka. Congress netas wear flowers in their ears to accuse the Bombay government of fooling people. There's been developments in the Prithvi Shaw selfie scuffle. Arrested accused claims it was the cricketer who tried to kill her. Accuses him of being intoxicated during the fight. And Hollywood star Bruce Willis has been diagnosed with dementia. This condition affects the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain. News break coming in after the EC has awarded the party name and the symbol to Eknath Shinde. Uddhav Sena now to move Supreme Court over the EC's verdict. A short while ago, very agitated Uddhav Thackeray held a press conference, says matter is in Supreme Court, how can EC decide? He also says law minister pressurized judiciary. The AC gave Sena and party symbol to Shinde Sena. Fight for BMC control clearly exploding. He also went down to accuse the EC of siding with the government, playing to the tunes of the government, called it a compromised institution. On the other hand, Uddhav Thackeray compared Eknath Shinde to Ravan. He made an analogy and then in Marathi, and then which practically meant that both Ram and Ravan had a bow and an arrow. However, here Eknath Shinde is the Ravan while he is the Ram. Ultimately also playing an emotional card saying that Shiv Senics will remain Shiv Senics, the cadre will remain with him, and the people for whom the Shiv Sena meant Bala Sahib Thackeray will always be with him and not Eknath Shinde. He can temporarily enjoy the symbol and the party name.
आजपर्यंत आपण अनेक उदाहरणं पाहिलेली आहेत की जिथे सरकारची दादागिरी चाललेली आहे. अगदी न्याय यंत्रणा सुद्धा आपल्या दबावाखाली कशी येईल याच्याबद्दल गेले काही दिवस केंद्रीय कायदा मंत्री बोलतायत, राज्यसभेचे अध्यक्ष बोलतायत, त्यांना न्यायमूर्ती नेमण्याचे सुद्धा आता अधिकार पाहिजेत. आज जो निवडणूक आयोगाने निकाल दिलेला आहे हा लोकशाहीच्या दृष्टीने अत्यंत घातक, किंवा मी तर असं म्हणेन की दुर्दैवाने आपल्या देशाच्या स्वातंत्र्याचा अमृत महोत्सव सुरू असताना आपल्या माननीय पंतप्रधानांनी एकदा लाल किल्ल्यावरून घोषणा करायला हरकत नाही की 75 वर्षाचं स्वातंत्र्य आता संपलेलं आहे आणि आता देशातली लोकशाही संपवून आम्ही बेबंदशाहीला सुरुवात केलेली आहे.
Death of democracy that the EC played to the tunes of the centre, and Eknath Shinde will not enjoy the love and support of the people. He might have the symbol and the party name. In effect, what Uddhav Thackeray said. But it's a day where Eknath Shinde is elated, ecstatic. There were fireworks at Varsha, the Chief Minister's residence. India Today's Sahil Joshi had an exclusive chat over the phone call minutes after EC made the announcement. Listen in.
जो फैसला आया है उसके बारे में आपका क्या कहना है, किस तरीके से आप इस फैसले को देखते हैं?
ये सत्य का विजय है, ये सत्य का विजय है, लोकशाही का विजय है और बाला साहेब और आनंद दिगे साहब के विचारों का विजय, और तमाम जिन्होंने मुझ पर विश्वास रखा, मेरे 50 सहयोगी विधायक है, सांसद है और हजारों लाखों कार्यकर्ता, शिव सैनिक, इनका विजय है. मैं चुनाव आयोग को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं.
सर, लेकिन इसके बाद आपको लगता है कि और भी लोग आपसे जुड़ेंगे? मुंबई में खास करके आप इंतजार कर रहे थे इस फैसले का. अब जब ओरिजिनल नाम और बो एंड एरो सिंबल आपको मिल चुका है तो और भी लोग आपसे जुड़ने की उम्मीद आपको लग रही है?
नहीं, लोग तो जुड़ रहे हैं. जब ये सिंबल नहीं था तब भी लोग जुड़ रहे हैं. जो विचार हम लोग ने, जो भूमिका ली हुई है बाला साहब के विचारों की और इस राज्य के हित की, जनता के हित की जो भूमिका हमने ली हुई है, इसलिए लोग काफी जुड़ रहे हैं, आगे भी जुड़ते रहेंगे.
आरोप लगाया जा रहा है शिवसेना उद्धव गुट के तरफ से, अब उनको उद्धव ठाकरे गुट कहना चाहिए, कि उनका कहना है कि सत्ता का उपयोग करके ये फैसला लिया गया इलेक्शन कमीशन की तरफ से. क्या कहना है आपका?
ये देखिए, आरोप लगाना तो उनका काम है, लेकिन इस देश में लोकशाही में कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, रूल्स है, कानून है.
आज जो फैसला आया है उसके बारे में आपका क्या कहना है, किस तरीके से आप इस फैसले को देखते हैं?
ये सत्य का विजय है, ये सत्य का विजय है, लोकशाही का विजय है और बाला साहेब और आनंद दिगे साहब के विचारों का विजय, और तमाम जिन्होंने मुझ पर विश्वास रखा, मेरे 50 सहयोगी विधायक है, सांसद है और हजारों लाखों कार्यकर्ता, शिव सैनिक, इनका विजय है. मैं चुनाव आयोग को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं.
All right, let's break it down, viewers. What could be the political implications of it all? What does it actually mean for Uddhav Thackeray? And what is the logistical outcome of it? Let's cut across to Sahil Joshi, who's joining me live from Mumbai, our Mumbai Bureau Chief. Rajdeep Sardesai, consulting editor, after cracking an exclusive interview with Abhishek Banerjee, which will play out in the next 15 minutes, joins us from Meghalaya. Rajdeep, you should have been in Maharashtra. You're there in Meghalaya, but we're going to play that exclusive interview out. But before that, Sahil, pulling you in. We're going to get down to the political implications of it all, but logistically, what does it mean from here on? What about party property? That massive iconic building in Dadar, Sena Bhavan, all of that was sealed. What about organizational committees which was sealed? What happens now, logistically speaking?
Well, let me first clarify to our viewers. The Election Commission does not decide which office will be going to the which fraction of the party. They only decide with respect to the party's name and the party's symbol, which is going to be with which group. So the Shiv Sena Bhavan, as that iconic building in Mumbai Shivaji Park area, is not going to go with Eknath Shinde. It is going to stay with Uddhav Thackeray himself. But the party's name, the identity of the party, Shiv Sena, and the identity of the party, the bow and arrow symbol, are going to go with Eknath Shinde. So Eknath Shinde from tomorrow onwards can claim that he is the Shiv Sena. He is the leader
Right.
of the Shiv Sena. After Balasaheb Thackeray, this is for the first time after 1966, somebody who does not carry the surname of Thackeray is going to lead the party there. And you're absolutely right. Rajdeep Sardesai should have been in Mumbai today because he has seen Shiv Sena, since many years.
Right.
And today he is in some other corner of the country and doing some, election on my plate stories from Meghalaya.
Okay,
But interestingly,
he's cracked an exclusive interview with Abhishek Banerjee, which nobody has, and we're going to play it out in the next 15 minutes. But
ideally, he should be doing Uddhav Thakray's interview here in Bombay.
But I'm sure he's kicking himself over it. But such is life. But stay with me, Sahil. Let me bring him in, and I'll come right back to you. So Sahil's broken down what is the logistical implications of it for the party. But Rajdeep, Naam, Nishan, both now, the party name, party symbol, going to Eknath Shinde. What does it mean for Uddhav Thackeray from here on?
Preeti, first of all, yes, I'm in the state with the wrong M at the moment. You could argue Maharashtra is where the action is. I'm in Meghalaya. That's okay. That happens. But let's put it this way. I think for the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray group, this is a huge setback politically. Because, the battle for the symbol, in a sense, was seen to be a battle as to which is the real Sena. So you will now have Eknath Shinde suggesting that he is the real Sena. Having said that, I was with an opposition leader here who thought that in this adversity lies a huge opportunity for Uddhav Thackeray. And you saw some of it in his press conference, claiming that he is being victimized, that the center is in concert with the Election Commission acting against his family, against Balasaheb Thackeray's legacy, and thereby the opportunity lies for him to play victim. And you will probably see that happen over the next few months, particularly in the lead up to the crucial Mumbai municipal elections. We don't know when those will be, but clearly I think what has happened is the EC has gone by pure numbers in terms of the MLAs. Because the Eknath Shinde camp had more MLAs, that was seen to be the strongest argument in favor of giving the symbol to Eknath Shinde. However, the question arises that the entire matter is before the Supreme Court in the manner in which the defection took place. Did the EC jump the gun? Did the EC give a verdict in haste? Could the EC have waited to hear from the Supreme Court? I know that the EC's inquiry was a parallel inquiry, but could they have waited for the Supreme Court? We know now that Uddhav Thackeray's camp is planning to go to the Supreme Court to challenge the Election Commission decision. Look, Preeti, the fact is at the end of the day, this battle for who is the real Shiv Sena will not be settled by the symbol issue. It will be settled, in my view, by who wins the crucial Mumbai municipal election that will happen sometime this year. Because that is the real fortress of the Shiv Sena. If Uddhav Thackeray was to lose badly in those Mumbai municipal corporation elections, then you could probably write the Shiv Sena off. But till that happens, I think the symbol will be used by both sides, by Eknath Shinde to claim he's the real Sena and by Uddhav Thackeray to claim that he has been victimized by the center which has used the EC to target him. So I think picture abhi baki hai is the way I will put it. The real battle remains for who will win the Mumbai Municipal Corporation elections to be held later this year.
Sahil wants to come in, but Rajdeep, we talk about something which even Uddhav Thackeray's camp is going to town, that the matter is in Supreme Court. Did the EC jump the gun, play to the tunes of the centre? But having said that, if you actually look at the Election Symbols Order 1968, it clearly says that the EC can decide disputes amongst rival groups. More so, the Supreme Court upheld it in 1971, that the EC is the top boss ultimately. So in terms of legal context, really, it's not out of turn that the EC has decided to do this. But, I'll come right back. Rajdeep. I want to... Yes, go ahead.
No, the EC has the powers. There's no doubt about it. But we've seen in the past that the EC has also at times frozen political symbols till such time as there is greater clarity. Now, there is a sense that the situation in Maharashtra, so the Uddhav Thackeray camp has argued, is still in a state of flux. The Eknath Shinde camp, on the other hand, has said, look, we formed a government, we've got a majority of the MLAs, let's get the symbol. So I think, as I said, while the first round of this battle has been conclusively won by the Eknath Shinde camp, I think the real battle will take place both in the Supreme Court and more importantly among the people of Maharashtra and Mumbai in particular. Do they really think that Eknath Shinde is the true heir to Balasaheb Thackeray's legacy, or is it Uddhav Thackeray? That battle cannot be settled in an election commission office. That will have to be settled on the streets of Mumbai when voting takes place.
You know, Sahil, I know what you've been wanting to come in, but taking off from what Rajdeep says, you know, the flip side of it, could there be a sympathy wave for Uddhav Thackeray at the back of this? Could it work for Uddhav Thackeray? But, you know, you just don't have the symbol, you just don't have the party name, you're in power, you have the administration, you're facing a BMC election. The odds lie with you.
Well, Preeti, I want to come to that, and it's a very important point because this is the toughest battle any Thackeray would have ever faced in their lifetime. Balasaheb Thackeray in his lifetime have faced existential battle for Shiv Sena so many times, especially during the emergency, especially after the emergency when he was on the wrong side of the history. He was with the Congress at that particular time, and he fought the elections with the Congress and he faced the consequences. The Shiv Sena had almost become non-existent, but despite that, he could survive his party. The people in his party completely stood behind him because that was the time when Shiv Sena was not the political party. Whereas now the situation has changed. By the time Uddhav Thackeray took over the party, Shiv Sena has already had the fruits of being in power. 1995 to 1999, party had run the full-fledged government in Maharashtra. It was part of the Vajpayee cabinet for more than 6 years. Then again with Devendra Fadnavis for 5 years. So the people whom Uddhav Thackeray was leading have already tested the fruits of the power in Maharashtra and also in the center. Most importantly right now, what Rajdeep said is absolutely right. But I would like to add two things in this because what is going to happen now is that for next 1 year, the biggest story in Maharashtra is going to be not the BJP, not the NCP, not the Congress, but which is the real Shiv Sena. It's going to be still going to be the biggest fight because, we have ample of examples in the history, in the political history of India. In Telugu Desam, when N.T. Ramarao was alive at that time, Chandrababu Naidu carried all the party MLAs with him, the party hierarchy, the party machinery with him, and he survived as a Telugu Desam, and N.T. Ramarao couldn't do a thing about it. But on the other hand, with the AIADMK, even if Jayalalitha was thrown out of the party, she formed her own fraction. She was the one who actually eventually became the real AIADMK. Is that going to happen in Maharashtra, which will only we come to know when the elections will happen? But I would like to draw attention to...
Or 1971, Sahil, Congress O or Congress I.
Yeah, exactly. I want to come to that only because that is the judgment which has been cited in the Election Commission order while deciding which is going to be the real Shiv Sena. So the Congress's fate in 1971 was used to decide, who is going to be the real Shiv Sena. They have applied triple test in the Sadiq Ali judgment. I am reading out the triple test. The first one is the aims and objectives. The second test is of the party constitution, and the third test is the test of the majority. Now, what the Election Commission has found when it comes to the aims and with respect to the aims and objects of the party, both the fractions couldn't satisfy Election Commissions that they are the one who are actually carrying the aims and objects of the real Shiv Sena. The second thing about the party constitution, Election Commission says that the various amendments with the in the party constitution are not in the line with the registration of the political party, the rules of the registration of the political party. That's why the constitution has been kept aside. And now becomes the third important point is with the rule of the majority, which was clearly on the side of Eknath Shinde. And on the basis of that, Election Commission finally decided that Sadiq Ali judgment is applied in the Shiv Sena, in the case of Shiv Sena, and that is the reason why the election symbol and the name of the party has been awarded to Eknath Shinde. Now, most importantly, Eknath Shinde is man of the hour. He has been claiming this ever since. I interviewed him during India Today conclave, and that was the time he clearly said that whatever happens, the Election Commission, he is very confident that Election Commission
but that's
is
what
going to award the symbol and the name
But Rajdeep, that's what even Uddhav Thackeray said when he began his press conference. He said that Eknath Shinde faction already knew that they were going to get this symbol. It was something that we also spoke about, in the newsroom so many times, that it was inevitable that they would get the symbol. But what you talk about now, of course, the proof in the pudding would be in its eating. That's the BMC elections immediately. But coming through, Rajdeep, Maharashtra is practically going to have the number of by-elections that are going to take place in the state in the next 1 year. Is practically a state election of sorts. All of that, if you don't have the party symbol, if you don't have, the name, and there will be defections. Whatever little Uddhav Thackeray has would possibly also now tend to gravitate towards Eknath Shinde, the real Sena.
Couple of points. First, what you said, the inevitability of this decision. And I think that reflects the times in which we live. You see, like it or not, this is not the election commission of TN Session. This is an election commission which is increasingly seen not to be a neutral umpire. The opposition, I can tell you, not just the Shiv Sena, has been complaining for the past few years, suggesting even schedules are organized by this particular election commission to suit the BJP. They've given ample examples of that. So that argument will be made, but that argument is not a legal argument. That is a political argument. The other argument, which you're hinting at, is that now that the symbol and the name of the real Shiv Sena in a way has gone to the Eknath Shinde camp, will people start flocking to Eknath Shinde? I think that remains to be seen, because I think there are enough people out there who still want to play safe, who want to see what happens over the next few months, who recognize, as you said, that Maharashtra is a state which will go into elections next year. Till those, in the build-up to that election, yes, you will have people switching sides. That's why I said the BMC elections are critical. If Uddhav Thackeray loses control of the Mumbai Municipal Corporation, comes, let's say, a bad second or a bad third, then clearly Eknath Shinde will have a dominant position. But until that happens, I can tell you the carders are not going to switch so easily. Uddhav Thackeray and the Thackeray family still has an emotional appeal that cannot be denied. The administrative power, the resources possibly are on the other hand with the Eknath Shinde camp. So I think, it may be game today to Eknath Shinde, but it's still not set and match. I think that will only happen a little while later. So I hesitate at this moment to predict that there'll be a large-scale exodus from the Uddhav Thackeray camp. My sense is, remember, the bastion of the Uddhav Thackeray camp remains Mumbai. So until those elections are sorted, what do Shakha Pramukhs do? They will wait, bide their time and take a call. Sahil mentioned very interestingly the case of NTR and Chandrababu Naidu. Chandrababu Naidu captured the organization as well. He didn't just get the MLAs. And remember, this was while NTR was alive, Lakshmi Parvati was there, and there was a sense that NTR was aging. Is that the case today, possibly between the Thackerays and the Shindes? We don't know. You see, the X factor, Preeti, is the BJP. The BJP is, after all, the dominant party of India. And there's a sense that whoever is with the BJP gains a huge advantage in terms of resources, in terms of the Modi factor. So we have to also see, therefore, can the BJP take only Eknath Shinde along with them and take on the Maharashtra Vikas Aghadi, which has NCP, Congress and the Shiv Sena on the other side? That will also be decided when elections take place in Maharashtra next year. So there are a lot of there are lots of straws still in the wind which need to settle down before we can predict the demise of the Shiv Sena. I would hesitate to predict the demise of the Uddhav Thackeray Sena just yet. But yes, their backs are to the wall and they will have a tough struggle now to really, in a way, ensure that they are still the dominant party of Mumbai.
Sahil, taking off from what Rajdeep says, you've been you've been looking at Maharashtra, you've seen how things have gone down ever since this vertical split happened. What's your sense? What's the ground feel? What's the ground sense that you're getting? The Congress is also not doing terribly in the recent past. What is it that you're picking up?
Well, now, what needs to be seen is whether that on whose side the cadre is going to move. Because, the Shiv Sena has always been not only a political party, but it's always been an organization. And that is the reason why despite the ups and downs, the party cadre has always remained intact with the Thackeray family. It started breaking up, after Narayan Rane broke away from Shiv Sena. Then Raj Thackeray formed his own party, and then eventually Balasaheb Thackeray died, and Uddhav Thackeray became the working president, and then party president he became. But now what needs to be seen is whether the people who are fence sitters, because now it has become completely a political party. Ever since 1990, the Shiv Sena has been fighting elections across Maharashtra, Assembly as well as Lok Sabha. So now it has taken a shape of a political party since last 30 years. All the downsides of the political party are also with the Shiv Sena. So the people who have crossed over to Shiv Sena may not be the original cadre. There might be some political bigwigs who need some political symbol and the name behind them to get elected. So those kind of people will eventually think that politically which side they should be on. And as Rajdeep has rightly pointed out, the BJP is a major player in Maharashtra politics at this point of time. It's the not only the number one party with respect to the numbers in Lok Sabha as well as in Vidhan Sabha, but also it has its own clout now in Maharashtra. So the politics in Maharashtra has become, if you consider two poles, one are those kind of people who are with the BJP, who are with the power in the center, and the other side is basically against the BJP. That is the reason why we have seen clubbing of the parties against the BJP, a kind of a united Mahavikas Aghadi against the BJP. So those fence sitters within the Shiv Sena may think that Uddhav Thackeray may not get themselves elected because he doesn't have a symbol, he doesn't have Shiv Sena, and most importantly, he doesn't have BJP on its side. Right. So maybe those fence sitters might think of shifting over to Eknath Shinde camp, because now they have got the name and the symbol. The identity of the party is now with Eknath Shinde, and that is the real challenge. Now what remains is that the term which Rajdeep used is Shakha Pramukh. That is one of the important fraction in Shiv Sena if you come to the cadre level. And what these people do, because in politics it never happens like this, that if the elected representative shift, the cadre also shift. That has never happened in Shiv Sena before. Right. So that is something which we will need to.
But that's interesting. And Rajdeep wants to come in on that. Rajdeep, even in the press conference that Uddhav Thackeray held, a lot of what he said was full of the machismo, the masculine politics that Shiv Sena follows, where he said that these are not real men. It's a fight of Adharm, Dharm, Ravan and Ram. Everything in the makings of what has been Shiv Sena language. Do you see that cadre shifting?
Well, you see, he's trying to convert adversity into opportunity by playing the victim card, by harking back to his father's legacy. We don't know whether that will, to what extent it will succeed. Politics is never static; it's changing. The rise of the BJP is significant. I wanted to come in because, as you said, I'm in Meghalaya, and let me tell you what happened here in Meghalaya today. Amit Shah was here in Tura again and attacked the National People's Party, which is the ruling party or the part of the ruling alliance led by Conrad Sangma, of which the BJP was a part till 5 months ago. What has the BJP done? They've ditched Conrad Sangma, are calling him the most corrupt and incompetent chief minister, and are now contesting all 60 seats in Meghalaya. So what have they done? They've effectively piggybacked on a regional party and grown at their expense and now want power. And this is the tale across the northeast, and to some extent that's true of Maharashtra. Today I am reminded of what Pramod Mahajan, the late Pramod Mahajan, once told me many years ago. He said, Rajdeep, we are the junior partner today in Maharashtra to the Shiv Sena, yes. But after Balasaheb Thackeray, what? After Balasaheb Thackeray, mark my words, we will be the dominant Hindutva ally. And that's exactly what's happened. How did they do it? By weaning away an Eknath Shinde on their side. They are now positioning themselves as the dominant party of Maharashtra. What is the option therefore left to an Uddhav Thackeray? To play victim, to play on Maharashtrian Asmita, to suggest that this is a conspiracy by outside forces who are targeting the people of Maharashtra. You saw that when a couple of projects ahead of the Gujarat elections left Maharashtra and went to Gujarat. That is the last card in a way that Uddhav Thackeray can play, that he will play now to a sense of Maharashtra pride, Maharashtrian identity, and say that, look, we are the original party of Maharashtra. Eknath Shinde has betrayed us. Will that work with the voters? we don't know because no election has been held since this breakup. The one that was held in Andheri, the Eknath Shinde by-election, the Eknath Shinde camp didn't even contest that. I think the real test therefore will come when corporation elections are held in Maharashtra later this year. And also very importantly, remember, Maharashtra has the second largest number of Lok Sabha MPs. Therefore, even in the larger national picture, what happens in Maharashtra will have a bearing on what happens in 2024.
You know, Rajdeep, stay with me. I just want to quickly, get our viewers up to speed on what they are witnessing. It's a press conference right after Uddhav's press conference that Eknath Shinde is all set to hold. These are live visuals that are filtering in. Varsha, his residence there, you can hear actually the holes at the back, the firecrackers. So while we're going to dip into those visuals, let me quickly pull in Rajdeep and Sahil back into this conversation. We're going to cut across that, and Sahil or Rajdeep, whichever one of you feel up to it, you can translate for our viewers. But Sahil, there's something also which, and for reason enough, that the Uddhav faction has been harping on, which is why the BMC elections were delayed. And now the word is they're going to be right around the corner.
Well, now that will completely depend on what is going to happen in the court, because the delimitation of the BMC wards is pending in the court at this point of time. So that needs to be decided by the court, and only after that the BMC elections are going to happen. Of course, Eknath Shinde is going to visit now Balasaheb Thakre's Smriti Sthal. Balasaheb Thakre was cremated at the Shivaji Park, and of course he's going to go gung-ho about it. I spoke to him a while back, and he was very calm and quiet about this, that he was very confident that, as I said, the people who are fence-sitters are going to cross over to him. The biggest problem for Eknath Shinde have been Mumbai, because in Mumbai, not many of the Uddhav Thackeray supporters or the Shiv Sena supporters crossed over to the Shinde camp, and now he thinks that this is a chance. If he can manage to get control of the Mumbai from Shiv Sena, then that is going to be his political future at this point of time. The BJP has made it clear that henceforth all the elections in Maharashtra are going to be fought with Eknath Shinde. So Eknath Shinde will remain a Shiv Sena chief, and then he's going to continue his political journey with the BJP at this point of time. Let's see now if Eknath Shinde speaks at this point of time. If he speaks in Marathi, I'll translate.
Well, he will speak in Marathi, Sahil. I'll put my money on it. But Rajdeep, I'll bring you on that. Eknath Shinde also now trying very hard to play where optics are concerned.
No, Preeti.
He's at the Balasaheb Thakre Smriti.
Very interesting fact. If you are running the visuals at this point of time, I can see there is a Nepali man standing besides Eknath Shinde in the visuals, and he's the one who was a Man Friday of Balasaheb Thakre, who has been with Balasaheb Thakre since last 30-40 years. Ever since I have been going to Matoshri and speaking to Balasaheb Thakre, I have always been seeing this man along with him, and today he made it a point to bring him along with him while he's addressing the press conference at Varsha. So that is also kind of a symbolic thing, that it's not only the symbol and the Shiv Sena, but also that Nepali man called Thapa is with him at this point of time while addressing the press conference. So that is also quite an interesting fact, as I can say.
Feel free to translate for us. Okay, Rajdeep also coming. Yes, Rajdeep, go ahead till the time he speaks. Can we get Rajdeep, please?
No, but you know, Thapa and a few other members of the Thakre family with whom Uddhav and Aditya Thakre have had antagonisms. They've been with Eknath Shinde now for a while. Remember the Dashera rally that was held in October? There was a battle between the two rallies. And the likes of Thapa, who as Sahil said was the Man Friday of Balasaheb Thakre, Jaidev Thakre, Smita Thakre,
I'm going to let you make that point. Let's listen in first.
डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकरांनी लिहिलेली घटना आहे, त्याच्यावर आपला कारभार चालतो.
अरे नयन नको आलू
सोनी शाबाश बहुमताचा विजय. पुन्हा एकदा मी सांगतो हा लोकशाहीचा विजय पुन्हा एकदा मी सांगतो हा लोकशाहीचा विजय. 13 खासदार, अनेक नगरसेवक, जिल्हा परिषद अध्यक्ष, सभापती, सदस्य, लाखो कार्यकर्ते आणि शिवसैनिक यांचा हा विजय आहे.
उद्धव ठाकरे यांनी बाहेर काढलेले
बघा, शेवटी किती काही कोणी म्हटलं तरी सच्चाई कुणालाही लपवता येणार नाही, कुणालाही टाळता येणार नाही. खऱ्या अर्थाने आम्ही बाळासाहेबांचे विचार पुढे घेऊन जाण्याचा निर्णय घेतला आणि त्यांच्या विचारांचा हा
Whatever
विजय
people
आहे.
say, we are carrying forward Balasaheb's legacy forward.
की त्यांना खऱ्या अर्थाने त्यांनी 2019ला बाळासाहेबांचे विचार कुणाच्या तरी दावणीला बांधले, त्यांचे विचार
It was
विकण्याचं
Uddhav
मोठं पाप
Thackeray
केलं.
who actually
त्यांना ही मोठी
broke
चपराक
away
आहे.
from Balasaheb Thackeray's legacy in
जेव्हा-
2019.
त्यांच्या बाजूने निकाल लागतात तेव्हा ती न्याय व्यवस्था बरोबर असते. ज्यांच्या त्यांच्या जेव्हा
It
विरोधात
has become
निकाल
his
लागतो
habit to
तेव्हा
say that
दबावाखाली निर्णय घेतला. ती
the
न्याय
law and
व्यवस्था
judiciary is
विकली
doing
गेली.
fine when any result is on their side. When it goes against them, they say that the democracy
लोकशाही खतरे में,
is a danger.
लोकशाही धोक्यामध्ये, लोकशाहीचा खून म्हणजे तुमच्या बाजूने निकाल दिला की लोकशाही बरोबर. हे असं जे काय दुटप्पी भूमिका जे
So if
घेतायत,
result is in your favor, then the democracy is right. If a result is not in your favor, then democracy is wrong, is in danger.
एवढंच मी या प्रसंगी सांगतो. आणि
I want to
यापुढे
say only
देखील
this.
बाळासाहेबांची भूमिका, बाळासाहेबांचे विचार आम्ही पुढे घेऊन जाणार. त्यांनी तर
We are going to carry forward Balasaheb's legacy, his
मान्य
thoughts.
केलं होतं की धनुष्यबाण गोठवलं जाईल, परंतु त्यांनी हा धनुष्यबाण 2019ला ज्यांच्याकडे काँग्रेस आणि राष्ट्रवादीकडे गहाण ठेवला होता तो मी आता सोडवला. आम्ही
We have actually got this bow and arrow because Uddhav Thackeray has given this bow and arrow to Congress and NCP. We have reclaimed this bow and arrow symbol from Congress and NCP.
हे बघा, अरे सुनो बाबा, सुनो, मैं बता रहा हूँ. अभी पहले मेरा मराठी में बोलने दो.
निवडणूक आयोगाने शेण खाल्ला असं
हे बघा,
आणि 1-1.5 महिन्यात निवडणुका लागू शकतात.
एकच मी सांगतो,
त्या माणसाला
हा
फोन लावला.
केविलवाना प्रयत्न आहे. हा सिंपत्ती म्हणजे काय म्हणतो आपण त्याला, सहानुभूती मिळवण्याचा हा केविलवाना प्रयत्न आहे. आपल्या पक्षाकडे असलेले कार्यकर्ते दुसरीकडे जाऊ नये म्हणून त्यांना थांबवण्याचा प्रयत्न आहे. मी मगाशी म्हटल्याप्रमाणे निवडणूक आयोग असेल, न्याय व्यवस्था असेल, हे स्वतंत्र यंत्रणा आहे. तुम्ही त्यांच्यावर अशा प्रकारचा आक्षेप, अशा प्रकारचा आरोप अतिशय खालच्या पातळीवरचा करू शकत नाही, करता कामा नये. ही खरं म्हणजे लोकशाहीला तुम्ही घातक आहात. लोकशाहीचा खून ह्या तुमच्या अशा प्रकारच्या वक्तव्यातून होतोय आणि म्हणून यापुढे तरी तुमच्यामध्ये सुधारणा घडू द्या. आता मगाशी कोणीतरी म्हणालं की चोर म्हणजे आम्ही 50 आमदार चोर, 13 खासदार चोर, शेकडो हजारो नगरसेवक चोर, लाखो कार्यकर्ते शिवसैनिक चोर, म्हणजे सगळ्या लाखो लोकांना तुम्ही चोर बनवताय आणि तुम्ही
lakhs of people who have supported us are all wrong and only he is the one who is right. That is not the right attitude.
जेवढे लोक तुम्हाला सोडून गेले ते गुन्हेगार.
मी इकडच शो करेन.
आणि तुम्ही
That's Eknath Shinde. He's at the Balasaheb Thackeray Smriti and responding to what Uddhav Thackeray said just a short while back in the press conference, where Uddhav Thackeray said, called him a thief, a chore, and those who've gone with him the same. He's responding to that. He's saying you can't call the Shiv Seniks chore or everybody else chore, but you are clean. He also said that when the judiciary or any institution rules in your favor, that practically means that you agree with it, you think that's correct, but when they don't rule in your favor, you call them compromised.
त्याच्यामध्ये करू शकतो ज्या लोकांनी ज्यांना निवडून दिलेलं आहे, जे निवडून दिलेले आमदार 50 आमदार आमच्या सोबत.
He also goes on and says that the bow and arrow symbol, which is now finally given back to the rightful Shiv Sena, because in 2019, Uddhav Thackeray gave the symbol which was of Bala Sahib Thackre's Shiv Sena to the Congress when he allied with the Congress. And that is when Eknath Shinde had decided he wanted to change things.
निवडून आलेले खासदार त्यांना लाखो लोकांनी केलेलं मतदान.
With that, viewers, it's a wrap on this edition. We thank Sahil Joshi, our Mumbai editor and Mumbai bureau chief, as well as Rajdeep Sardesai, who is joining us all the way from Meghalaya. He's still with us. Rajdeep, closing comments there, Rajdeep? Okay, we don't have him. I think we've lost that link. But we have this exclusive interview lined up right next of Rajdeep Sardesai with Abhishek Banerjee from the TMC in Meghalaya. Do stay tuned.
I think there's an opportunity for India particularly to work with the United States and others.
India is has the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world.
I thought if it's blowing in the wind, it's best I'm on the motorcycle. And I did 15,000 kilometers in 36 days.
Rich countries have a particular obligation to exercise their investment in innovation.
I believe that global business has the money and the power.
Improvements in the way we understand the importance of education and healthcare.
You have a greater chance of killing yourself than of being killed by any soldier or terrorist or criminal.
Filmmaker Todd Phillips has unveiled the first look of Lady Gaga in a scene with Joaquin Phoenix, the Joker from the upcoming film Joker, Folie à Deux. The film will reportedly also feature Catherine Keener, Brendan Gleeson and Zazie Beetz.
It's so awful, isn't it?
The Joker sequel is scheduled to release in theatres on 4th October 2024.
For my whole life, I didn't know if I even really existed. But I do.
Sports drama Ted Lasso is all set to return with the third season. The makers have now released a teaser. Latest season will focus on the newly promoted AFC Richmond, which is trolled as the media predictions widely peg them as last in the Premier League, and Nate, now hailed as the wonder kid, has gone to work for Rupert at West Ham United.
Well, if seeing is believing, I believe we've been seen.
The series stars Jemmy Swift, Phil Dunster, Toheb Jimo, Christo Fernandez, Kola Bokini, Billy Harris and James Lance. Ted Lasso Season 3 will premiere on 15th March. Entertainment Bureau, India Today.
Welcome back, viewers. This is now our mega exclusive. The TMC's young gun Abhishek Banerjee spoke exclusively to India Today's consulting editor Rajdeep Sardesai, making this his first interview ever on national television. In this exclusive snippet of their conversation, Abhishek breaks his silence on Mission 2024. Listen in.
Two years ago, when the Trinamool Congress defeated the BJP in West Bengal, all attention was on Mamata Banerjee. But in many ways, one of the stars of that big victory was Abhishek Banerjee, the Trinamool Congress All India General Secretary. Abhishek Banerjee has not spoken on an English news channel till date. He's now here in Meghalaya, which is, many believe, the next big challenge for the Trinamool Congress. Joining me today, breaking his silence, is the inscrutable, but often in the news, Abhishek Banerjee. Appreciate your joining us, Abhishek. Am I right to suggest that Trinamool Congress sees Meghalaya now as make or break in your attempt to expand beyond Bengal?
See, every election a political party fight, especially the one of our likes, every election is make or break for any political party. At least that's how we look upon elections, and especially when we take our ideologies to the people or the work that we have done in the past or the kind of work that we would like to do in the next 5 years. So yes, if you perceive it that way and if that's how you look upon life, definitely it's a make or break. And with every elections, be it Goa, be it Tripura, be it Meghalaya, from the time Trinamool Congress formed the government for the very third time, in West Bengal, I was appointed as a General Secretary, if I'm not mistaken, in the month of June in 2021. It has been about 15 odd months, and we have started taking our party to different states, and every political party has got the right. So in the last 1.5 years that we have been in Meghalaya, we have tried to reach to every household, to every people, to all the hills, to all the communities, irrespective of their affiliation. And I'm extremely hopeful the kind of feedback and love and the kind of the way especially the people of Meghalaya has embraced us. I'm extremely hopeful that things will definitely be extremely positive in the days to come when the result comes out.
You know, the reason I said make or break is because you all went after your Bengal victory to Goa. Yes. You didn't have success. You've gone into Tripura, you've had a mixed track record, which is why the belief is that if the Trinamool Congress, which broke the Congress in 2021 to become the largest opposition party, you broke 12 out of 17 Congress MLAs. If you don't make it now in this Meghalaya election, it means that the Trinamool Congress has its limitations in expanding beyond Bengal.
See, failure is a relative term. I would not agree. I'd agree to disagree. You said we failed in Goa. You know, Goa, we started our journey in the month of September, and the elections were in the month of February, if I'm not wrong, on the 14th of February, and the results came out in the first week of March. And Trinamool is the only party in the entire country, in 6 months or 5 months span, we actually got about 10% odd vote share in the seats we contested. So no other political party in the country has ever achieved that feat before. It's a remarkable feat. Yes, we were not able to form the government, we were not able to, get our people elected. That's a different story. In Meghalaya also, I think Trinamool Congress will do extremely well, and you will see that when the results come out, Trinamool Congress, especially from the time that I was made the General Secretary, I am only focusing on the organization, and Trinamool Congress with all its might is taking on BJP, be it Bengal, be it any other state.
I'm going to come to your taking on the BJP, because the charge which is being made against you by the Congress at the moment.
Oh, sorry. I'll just stop you, because you asked about the Congress, that we broke the Congress. I don't agree with you on that front as well.
No, because the Congress says, Jairam Ramesh has come to Meghalaya and said that the Trinamool Congress is the B team of the BJP. You got a backdoor entry into Meghalaya by breaking the Congress, and now you are dividing the anti-BJP vote.
If Trinamool is the B team of BJP, then will Trinamool and its leaders, especially the one who are leading the battle from the forefront, will have the courage to take on BJP and attack Amit Shah and PM Modi? How many people in the Congress is doing that? Barring one or two. You accuse us of breaking the Congress. No one broke the Congress. We didn't go to Gujarat. Did we fought elections this time in Gujarat?
No, you went to Goa, where the Congress was the main opposition. But you come to Meghalaya, and 12 out of the 17 Congress MLAs left, including former Chief Minister Mukul Sangma, and joined the Trinamool Congress. But so, the Congress has reason to feel aggrieved.
But you have to see where Trinamool is stepping in. Trinamool is only going to states which are BJP and NDA ruled and dominated. We have not entered Rajasthan. We have not entered Chhattisgarh. We have not entered, Himachal Pradesh. We are only going to states. We went to Goa, which is ruled by BJP. We went to Tripura, which is ruled by BJP. We have started our working unit at Assam, which is ruled by BJP. We are in Meghalaya, which has an MDA and NDA government in place. So every political party has got the right to go to any state they want. And we didn't break the Congress. Who is breaking the Congress? It was Mr. P. Chidambaram who said Congress has the fire in its belly and will fight and take on BJP's might and will defeat BJP single-handedly in Goa. You saw the outcome. When Congress legislators switched, we were telling this to defeat BJP, you have to trust the TMC. But Congress thought that they are capable and efficient enough to defeat BJP single-handedly without taking anyone into confidence. We didn't go to...
No, are you saying Abhishek Banerjee?
The point I make.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Please, give me the chance.
Go ahead.
Because Congress got into an alliance with Left. Bengal election was an election which was perhaps the most crucial elections of this decade, I would say. The entire country was eyeing the election. It was one of the most crucial, most grittiest, most hardest elections that one has fought. And it was perhaps the most critical battle of Mamata Banerjee's life, I would say, in a career. When you have to take on BJP's might, the agencies, a part in judiciary, election commission, paramilitary forces, it's a deadly, obnoxious combination. There Congress goes and join hands with CPIM. Then who is BJP's B team? If I am to ask you, will Jairam Ramesh and people sitting in the Lutyens' bungalow in Delhi will be able to answer this question? Who is acting as BJP's B team?
Can I get some clarity though from you? Are you saying that the Trinamool Congress wants to go only into those states where the BJP is in power?
Absolutely.
You will not go into any state where the Congress or a non-BJP party is into power?
Absolutely. That's our priority. We are fighting against the BJP. Otherwise, we would have gone. Meghalaya elections will be over in 1 month. Then we could have gone. We can easily go in states like Chhattisgarh. We can go in Rajasthan. But I tell you, Trinamool will not step in Chhattisgarh. Let Congress take the battle. Let Congress fight. Let Congress take on BJP's might and metal and defeat them. We didn't go to Gujarat. We had the chance and opportunity to start a working unit in Gujarat and contest the election, like AAP did. We went to Goa because it's a BJP-ruled state. But that doesn't mean that Trinamool will not go to Gujarat. Trinamool will not go to Uttar Pradesh. Trinamool will go, but not this time.
But would you...
Let people decide.
No, but in Meghalaya, what stops you from an alliance with the Congress? Many believe that what is happening in Meghalaya is effectively the non-NDA or the non-Meghalaya Democratic Alliance vote will get divided. Had you tied up with the Congress, you would have been a more formidable force. So the question is this Trinamool trying to expand to become a national party, get 6% of the vote, or is it Trinamool fighting elections to win and have more governments outside Kolkata?
See, there's no point basking in the past. Now you can't talk of an alliance because you have submitted the nomination, they have been scrutinized, they have been accepted, people are contesting, you have candidates in almost 56 seats out of 60 in Meghalaya. So it all depends on the outcome. Having said that, I have categorically stated that we are open for an alliance and we appeal to all the like-minded parties to come together.
Post-poll alliance?
Keeping their egos aside.
Post-poll alliance?
Yes.
You are open to a post-poll alliance with the Congress party?
Yes, I'm saying that.
Yes.
Barring BJP and NPP. It can be Congress, it can be UDP, it can be VPP, it can be any other party. It's a fight of ideology. Congress talks about ideology. I want to ask Congress's leadership, with all humility and grace, what is Congress's ideology? You are fighting against the left in Kerala, and you are joining hands with the left in Kerala, in Tripura and Bengal. So what exactly is your ideology? That's $1 million question.
few national channels, unfortunately, are talking about this. But it's extremely concerning that 24 tigers have died in a matter of 39 days or so. Now, while these are not really connected, Dr. Anish, there is a concern because in some of these cases, it's been because of poor tracking, because of the forest department being unaware. Some of these tiger carcasses have been found days later.
Yes, I think if you go by statistics, last year about 138 tigers died in the entire year. And if you go by the rate that we see now, which means 24 to 26 tigers dead in just 38 days, if you multiply it and if you kind of extrapolate it to the year, we could lose about 240 tigers, which is more than 100 tigers more than what we lost last time.
Shocking.
So definitely, as of now, if you look at just this first 38 days, it is a matter of concern. However, one must understand that India is one country, but the states are managing their forests and the tiger in their own different ways, which means that the Madhya Pradesh, the Maharashtra, and Karnataka, these three states are, in my mind, and also Uttarakhand, these four states are the true tiger states where a lot of government programs are being dished out so that communities and tigers can coexist. There is good amount of protection inside the tiger reserves. The populations have gone up and soon, and obviously the tigers are spilling over. There are a lot of tigers along corridors as well in both Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh.
Exactly.
And so there you can understand, if you're looking at Maharashtra, as per the last year's figures, there are more than 350 to 360 tigers, of which more than 150 tigers are outside. And so they are within stone's throw of a human habitation. And so the risk to the tiger is extremely high. This is not a secret. Everybody knows that. And which means that the department has to be on its toes throughout the year.
Make your media plan smarter with India Today Live TV on your connected devices. Amplify your brand with 100 million smart internet viewers. To advertise, mail us at sales@aajtak.com.
Do you have a question for me?
Yes, Mr. Yon. Do you really believe in all these things you sing?
Trailer of the much-anticipated film Love Again is out, and it features our very own Desi girl Priyanka Chopra along with Sam Hugan and Celine Dion.
Know nothing about it.
What?
Love.
Priyanka's husband Nick Jonas also makes a hilarious cameo appearance.
Take it a little slower. Yeah.
They're never gonna hold me down.
The film will showcase the story of Meera Chopra, who is grieving the death of her fiancé by texting love notes to his old number, which now belongs to Rob, who is a journalist, and a romantic connection begins to form.
I'm gonna go see her. These are from a literal stranger. I just need to...
Love Again is the film adaptation of Sophie Kramer's 2009 novel SMS Verditch, translating to Text for You, and will release in theatres on 12th May.
Sure. And I'm Mariah Carey.
The Bridgerton family is expanding. A new look at the Queen Charlotte-focused prequel reveals more steamy romance for some familiar characters.
Dearest, gentle reader, did you miss me?
The makers have released a teaser of the prequel titled Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story, which will tell the story of how the young queen's marriage to King George sparked both a great love story and a societal shift, creating a world inherited by the characters in Bridgerton. Calder Rochelle will reprise the role of the titular queen, with India Amatfio being introduced as a young Charlotte, a young woman on the precipice of greatness, though at a cost. Whereas Corey Malcrist plays young King George, a handsome and charming royal with a mysterious past. Also from the original series, Adjoa Ando returns as Lady Agatha Danbury, Ruth Gemmell as Lady Violet Bridgerton, and Hugh Sachs as Brimsley.
You are the first of your kind. You must secure your position.
This is my home. Queen Charlotte, A Bridgerton Story will premiere on OTT platform Netflix on 4th May.
So sorry.
बाबू सोना मैं ना चाहूं, मैं तो चाहूं दर्शन तेरा, तू जो तू दे प्यार से मेरी सेहत बन जाए, आजा गैया बाहों में वैलेंटाइन को न मनाऊं, मैं तेरे प्यार को ही पाऊं। गैया गैया हे मैया, मुझको तू इतना हक दे, तेरी सेवा करूं ये अनुभव अलग दे।
Volkswagen Werther.
He's ranted about how the Adani controversy will weaken Prime Minister Narendra Modi and lead to what he terms is democratic revival in India. The Congress, of course, has distanced itself from George Soros, given the kind of criticism that's coming George Soros's way. But images have emerged of key aides of George Soros walking along with senior Congress leader and member of parliament from Wayanad, Rahul Gandhi, during the Bharat Jodo Yatra. Team Modi is now front-footing a mega counter-attack.
I may be naive, but I expect a democratic revival in India.
The American investor believes that the Adani controversy will spark what he calls a democratic revival in India. Billionaire George Soros has sparked a furious debate after he spoke out on the Adani Hindenburg research papers at the Munich Security Conference and went on a complete anti-Modi tirade. He didn't stop with just democratic revival. Soros even said that Modi was losing his stranglehold now over the government.
Modi and business tycoon Adani are close allies. Their fate is intertwined. Adani Enterprises tried to raise funds in the stock market but failed. Adani is accused of stock manipulation and his stock collapsed like a house of cards. Modi is silent on the subject, but he will have to answer questions from foreign investors and in Parliament. This will significantly weaken Modi's stranglehold on India's federal government and open the door to push for much-needed institutional reforms. I may be naive, but I expect a democratic revival in India.
The BJP has now latched onto these comments by the tycoon philanthropist to reignite their conspiracy charge.
That he has pronounced funding of over $1 billion, particularly to target leaders like Prime Minister Modi, is significant. We as a nation state are together with Prime Minister Modi laying the foundation for the future of our country that will not only inherit our dreams, but a resilient and stronger economy.
So did the opposition choose to side with Soros and his democratic revival comment? Interestingly, the Congress, which is leading the attack on the Adani storm, distanced itself from Soros's comments, only to be embarrassed by these images of Soros's NGO, Open Society Foundation's India Vice President, Salil Shetty, walking with Rahul Gandhi during his Bharat Jodo Yatra in October last year.
Why should we get into BJP's toolkit? What some Soros says somewhere, then Smriti responds. This is a jugalbandi we have nothing to do with. We don't want to get into this. Our demand is simple, and the country, the LIC policyholders demand answers. We demand a JPC.
George Soros is facing fire from all quarters, but it's not the first time that the billionaire has made these kinds of comments against Prime Minister Modi. Here's what he said about the abrogation of Article 370 in January 2020.
That leaves the biggest and most frightening setback occurred in India, where the democratically elected Narendra Modi created a Hindu nationalist state, imposing punitive measures on Kashmir, a semi-autonomous Muslim region, and threatening to deprive millions of Muslims of their citizenship.
Soros's comment on the Hindenburg Research report has put the focus again on how the Adani Group, in their defense just weeks ago, called the allegations an attack on India.
68 of these so-called 88 questions are like this: bogus, misrepresentation and outright lies. Either they have not done any research, they've just cut, copy, paste and did a hit job, which what we believe it is, a malicious hit job on the FPO. Or, which is even worse, they actually did the so-called research. They knew this because it's the same accounting note, and they're deliberately misleading the public.
Soros may be a man with an agenda. His credentials as a philanthropist are undisputed, but so is his bias against Narendra Modi and his political activism. Bureau Report, India Today.
A democratic revival in India.
Before I throw this open for a wider discussion, let me quickly cut across to BJP's National Vice President Jay Panda joining me on the news track. Mr. Panda, the opposition asks, why is the government so concerned about the rant of a 92-year-old philanthropist investor at the Munich Security Conference?
George Soros claiming to stand for democracy is like Dawood Ibrahim claiming to stand for law and order. His notorious track record is there for all to see. I would urge the viewers of your esteemed program to search him online. You'll find many very, very worrying things about George Soros. For example, the New York Post, which is a major and the oldest newspaper in the US, has done a series of investigative reports which lays it out in plain sight. He funds a far leftist agenda of destabilizing societies and grabbing political power. Now, you saw in that video that menacing tone, and he has been targeting India for some years now. You already referred to his attack on the UK, and that's been his modus operandi. His modus operandi, he's never built anything. He's a speculator. He's not an industrialist or somebody who has built assets or businesses. He has benefited from actually causing them to collapse like he did on the British pound all those years ago. And his track record is of funding these far leftist ideologues, what we in India would call urban Naxals, into positions of power in the US and in other countries. And you can see the havoc that they are wreaking. Now, we should not take, he's as you said, he's 92 years old and he has megalomania, as you can see from that menacing tone in that video. We really shouldn't worry. But he does have a knack for building a nexus with people.
Okay.
Just like he has done in other countries, he's building a nexus with people in India, positioning them in positions of influence in the media, in activism. So we should worry if he's targeting India and wanting to bring down.
I'll come to that nexus and people in position of power or influence in just a moment. But for the moment, I want to quickly just stay on what he said. If George Soros believes that Prime Minister Modi's links with Adani will weaken, or his alleged links will weaken what he describes is as Modi's stranglehold on the federal government, how is that, sir, declaring war on India?
Look, he's talking about a democratic revival, but in fact, Prime Minister Modi is the single most popular democratically elected leader in the world. He gets hundreds of millions of votes more than any other person who seeks votes in the whole world. Now, we saw a democratic revival in India in 2014 and consolidation in 2019, when after nearly 3 decades of political quagmire, the people of India re-elected with Prime Minister Modi at its head, a party to have a full majority in parliament. Now, that's democracy. But the reality is, Soros deliberately funds and champions causes, as I said, to destabilize society and to grab political power. In India, he has been championing the cause of illegal immigrants, like the Rohingyas. He has done the same in the US. He champions open borders. He champions the complete overthrow of constitutions and a democratic way of running governments. If you look at the investigative stories done on him by the New York Post, you will see that he's got a toolkit which he's replicating in India.
Okay.
And we should take it seriously.
Okay, so you talk of a toolkit and you talk about George Soros putting people in positions of influence. Will the Narendra Modi government then probe these individuals or organizations who may be on the payroll of either George Soros individually or the Open Society Foundation? Who are his Indian collaborators, sir?
Of course, we should. Now, just like he has done in other countries, here he has been championing many of these people, and the record is out there. Those who are in academia, those who are in so-called think tanks, some of them in media, exact same copycat version of what he does in other countries. Now, he's attacking Mr. Adani. Now, as we have made it very, very clear, the BJP has nothing to hide at all on that front. You can go and ask any of the top industrialists of India whether they can have a quid pro quo with the Narendra Modi-led BJP, and they will all tell you that's not possible. And so there are institutions which are looking into that, and we don't need to get into that. But George Soros's track record is out there for everyone to see. I urge all the viewers of your channels to look it up online, look at the investigative reports on him, and what you see should concern you about the way he's targeting in India. We should not take it lightly.
And do you, Mr. Panda, then see a pattern? The Hindenburg report, the BBC report, the statement made at the Munich Security Conference, and the surround sound around at least the first two?
Well, absolutely, because it's very clear. He makes it very clear in that menacing sounding video that he wants regime change. He wants to disempower Prime Minister Modi, who is elected by the world's largest electorate in the history of humankind. He makes it very clear. So, and there are people, the Congress may try to distance itself from it, but apart from the videos you have shown, many of the people who are taking funding from him, many of the organizations who are taking funding from him have been organizing these kind of activities to try and bring the country down. Now, one of the things that Soros does, well, for example, Soros champions in the name of environmentalism the stoppage of any kind of developmental work. And you've seen a lot of that in India, and you've seen some of these people funded by him. You've also seen the chaos that he creates by funding people who want to depose the state, people who are violent, people who indulge in riots and physical damage, not just in shorting corporate stocks.
What does the government intend to do about this? What will the government do? Will there be an investigation into those who've received these funds and actions subsequent to receiving those funds?
Well, let me not speak on behalf of the government, but as a member of the BJP, I can certainly tell you that this is a party which is committed to the development and the growth of India. You can see the high regard in which India is being held today as a result of the kind of leadership that Prime Minister Modi has provided India. We have turned from a country that used to beg help from other nations to one that now provides help to hundreds of other nations, for example, during the pandemic and economic support after the pandemic. Now, what a government which is run by the BJP will not take lightly these kind of threats. And obviously, if these kind of nefarious activities are out in the open like this, they need to be investigated and action needs to be taken against those who are his front men to carry out this toolkit in India.
So is this just a George Soros, or do you see a wider foreign hand? Because while you know India is the mother of democracy, this is India's G20 presidency, you have a lot of criticism coming your way, whether it's action that's taken against a foreign broadcasting corporation in our country, or others like George Soros claiming that action on Modi or weakening of Modi will actually lead to what he calls is revival of democracy.
Like I said, George Soros talking about reviving democracy is like Dawood Ibrahim talking of reviving law and order. Do take a look at his track record. But in answer to your question, of course there is a nexus. The BBC, the BBC hit job. It's not a documentary in any sense of the word. It's a documentary would have cited the evidence on the other side. A documentary would have cited evidence that when the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Prime Minister Modi, was asking for support of police and paramilitary personnel from other states, the Congress-run states refused to send him that help. They would have pointed out about the fact that the specious allegations against Modi ji were not just overrun at any one stage of the judicial process, but at every stage. Now, the BBC has long since lost its credibility as a news purveyor. They take funding from China. They take funding from agencies which clearly have agendas to run, and they are hand in glove with several other such organizations. You are aware of a major Western alleged news organization which advertised for its India correspondent that the person must be anti-government. Now, neutrality is not their objectivity, or journalism is not their main aim. Their aim is to bring down India.
Okay, we'll track that story closely. For joining me here, Jay Panda, National Vice President of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Let me now throw this open for a wider discussion. Joining me on the news track is Prasenjit Bose. He's an economist and an activist. Adwaita Kala is author, screenwriter. Syed Abbas is a political analyst. Also with me is Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow at the Institute of Peace and Conflict Studies. Prasenjit Bose, is there merit in the government saying Soros is waging war against India, trying to destabilize a democratically elected government?
Well, I think that this is a completely exaggerated kind of assessment. And the relevance of George Soros to what is happening in India is very limited. I think it is basically trying to erect a straw man. And I see this intervention and the entire controversy surrounding what a over 90-year-old person is saying, sitting miles away from our country as a needless interference, but also as a digression from the very, very serious situation that has emerged after the revelations vis-a-vis the Adani business group.
Okay.
And today also the Supreme Court has made very serious observations. The government tried to influence the Supreme Court probe, which the Supreme Court today has refused to toe the line of the government in setting up the expert committee. It has suggested that it is going to set up an independent committee.
Yes.
I think those are more relevant debates.
No, but my question is, isn't that proof that India is a functional democracy? The government cannot get away with whatever it wants. There is a Supreme Court. And the fact that you and I are talking about it on live television, there is free press. But Abhijit Iyer Mitra, is the government overreacting, or are the red flags going up just in time?
Look, I do think, Gaurav, that the red flags are going up just in time. Okay, because remember, there is a lot of circumstantial evidence in this case. Mr. Soros has a record of interfering in election processes across the globe. Right. He was absolutely key. He was one of the biggest fundraisers of both Hillary and Biden. That isn't election interference because he is an American citizen. But you look at what happened in Georgia, the Rose Revolution, he always underplays his involvement. Right. So initially he was saying he did not support the Maidan thing in Ukraine in 2014, yes. And then finally admitted in an interview that he did. In the Rose Revolution that happened in Georgia, he said, he still says, I had nothing to do with it, except the Georgian Prime Minister and several Georgian ministers have openly come out and thanked him and said, we couldn't have done this without you. Okay. The third thing you have to look at, what are his associations? What does he fund? Right. And basically, if you look down at every one of the fundings of the Open Society Foundation, it not just links into the Congress, but it also links into a lot of organizations out here that are just plain vitriolically anti-government. So the issue here is you have on one side a lot of close contacts, and on the other a proven track record of destabilizing governments.
Respond, Asad Abbas. George Soros, as Abhijit Iyer Mitra also points out, is spending big money to engineer a regime change even in India. And look at the bias at the World Economic Forum at Davos. He claimed democratically elected Modi government is a setback to society. He claims punitive measures are imposed on Kashmir, a semi-autonomous Muslim region. And he claims Muslims are being deprived of citizenship. Asad Abbas, you tell me, are Muslims being deprived of citizenship? Any of what he claims, is it true?
Well, firstly, Gaurav Sahab, I truly believe that this man, George Soros, is a man of questionable character and integrity. Undoubtedly, like the point was made, he is nothing but somebody who's been an economic war criminal. Also, if you understand this so-called businessman, he has zilch effect on the democracy revival of India. That is the reason why Jairam Ramesh came out in the open and said what he said does not matter in terms of the opposition or the parties in India. Therefore, Smriti Irani and Jairam Ramesh, for one of its kind, taking a unanimous stand on the same. Let us understand, coming to the Adani Hindenburg report, Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has rejected the sealed cover names, and I'm very glad. This shows that the judiciary is indeed alive in India, and he will, independent with full public confidence, choose the members led by a former Supreme Court retired judge. Okay. Here we need to understand that George Soros must not be taken too seriously by a Smriti Irani or the BJP.
No, but Adwaita, should he not be taken seriously? Or that big money that's being funneled, millions of dollars already and $1 billion set aside, it's a very serious threat to this country, Adwaita.
Oh, he should be taken very seriously. I don't think he should be dismissed as any kind of old, tottering old man who's just trying to keep busy and making random statements on global forums. That's not what he's doing at all. Remember, money buys influence. And George Soros has had decades of using his money to buy influence in countries across the globe. India post-COVID has been in a situation wherein the world's eyes are on us. Now, this also happens to coincide with Prime Minister Modi's leadership, making him a leader who has made a difference on the global scale. Now, we cannot diminish that. And once you see that happening with India being called the pharmacy of the world, hosting the G20, the kind of bonhomie, the recent release by President Biden about the number of jobs being created in the United States. I mean, for heaven's sake, an Indian company creating jobs in the United States, whether you want to give Modi credit for that or not, that headline itself is something that we've never seen in our lifetime. So there are a lot of good things happening for India under Prime Minister Modi.
Oh, is that why he's being targeted?
Absolutely, absolutely. And Gaurav, make no mistake, this is an entire ecosystem at work, ecosystem that is funded by George Soros. So you have The Guardian, you have the New York Times coming out with editorials, the editorial boards coming out with editorials about lack of freedom in India. You have the BBC documentary by a guy, backed by a guy called Jack Straw, who faked WMDs in Iraq so they could do a regime change there. Unfortunately for them, India isn't a banana republic. We have a constitution, we have institutions. So they can't come in here and say we're up to this sort of weapon of mass destruction.
I'll get Prasenjit and Abbas to respond to the points you've raised. But Abhijit, Merit in the BJP is saying it's a joint operation between Soros and a certain ecosystem in India that Advaita also refers to. Is this, as the BJP says, Sur and Tal working in tandem between Soros and certain people in India?
Unfortunately, it is, Gaurav. Normally I'm not the type to believe in conspiracy theories. The problem is we have a lot more tangible evidence of collusion between, say, the Congress and George Soros, namely the former Prime Minister's daughter, Amrit Singh, working directly for the Open Societies Foundation. And a lot of other touch points than we do between, say, Adani and Mr. Modi, than Adani and the BJP. Okay, what we have in the Adani BJP case is a lot of allegations. Here we have actual evidence of people working for the Congress, also being funded and working with George Soros.
No, but where is that evidence?
Now,
working for the Congress, the former Prime Minister's daughter is not working for the Congress, sir. And since she's not here and the Congress is not here to defend
Mr. Sunil Shetty, Sunil Shetty or Satvik Shetty, whatever, marching with the thing. There are too many touch points here. Mr. Adani is not working for the BJP, right? But they claim there is collusion. By the Congress's own measure of how it judges the Adani-Modi relationship.
Prasenjit
Bose wants to respond to you. Evidence against the Congress and George Soros.
Prasenjit Bose, George Soros spending big money to engineer a regime change in India. Look at his bias and the point that's being made that a political party or NGOs in India are dancing to his tunes, sir.
I think it's a laughable claim, whoever is making it, and it only reminds, and I'm quite alarmed, because one is reminded of what Indira Gandhi used to say during the emergency. This entire, ghost of outside intervention being used to actually crack down on democratic dissent in India. And whatever George Soros has said, he doesn't stay in India. He doesn't know actually what is the state of affairs in India. I want to only like to say that why are we paying so much attention to someone like George Soros? Why aren't we investigating the whole question of Vinod Adani? Who is Vinod Adani?
Gautam Adani.
What is his role in the Adani enterprise? Why are we not asking those questions?
Time now for us to slip into a quick break. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.
All successful people worked hard, nothing comes easily.
Sometimes you need to just cross that mental barrier.
Once I come in,
काफी process oriented.
stark difference.
मैं जब दोनों मेडल को ले रहा था और मैं बोल रहा था कि दो ही हमारे पास मेडल है इंडिया में और दोनों आज मेरे हाथ में हैं.
The very fact that you're opening the India Today conclave with a session on Olympic sport tells me that we've made progress.
if you read the entire editorial, now this particular magazine is clearly linked, affiliated with the RSS. And if one does read it, if you read, it talks about how somewhere down the line that the Supreme Court is being used as a tool to defame India by anti-India forces, that it's run on the income tax money, the taxpayers' money, and it needs to only work for the benefit of India. So are we mocking the Supreme Court, especially the wisdom of the top court of the country by using language like this?
Well, in fact, let me make it very clear that the magazine is owned by Bharat Prakashan, not the RSS. It has its own independent views. Now let me come on the merit of the topic that we are discussing. Please remember, I have always maintained Supreme Court is not supreme in the scheme of things in India. It is only supreme so far as the hierarchy of the courts are concerned. And therefore, like our Prime Minister is Pradhan Sevak, the judges are also servants of the people. They are doing service to the people. They are not masters. And therefore, the colonial mindset that some of our judiciary suffers has to go away. Now, when they can open a court for hearing a terrorist case at midnight, and then on one hand, they are dismissing a petition for complete ban on the BBC documentary. On the other hand, they are hearing the other petitions. Then I have a problem, because these two petitions should have been heard together. On one hand, you dismiss one side petition. On the other hand, you are hearing. I have no issue if they're hearing this petition. They can go into it and see whether what these actual are. And one of the PILs is actually asking for is to reinvestigate the matter, to look into everything, which has Supreme Court has already done it. Secondly, they want punishment for the people that who are involved there. Punishments have also taken place. People from both the sides have been convicted. They are in jail. So what is this entire purpose of relooking into the matter? Now, so far as the freedom of expression and speech is concerned, Article 19.2 is very clear that they can have reasonable restriction. The action taken by the government of India is under Rule 16 of the IT rules, which gives them power. Now, this is an interim order. It is not a final order. It goes to the committee. Committee gives a finding, and then it is confirmed. That process is still not complete. And therefore, today what we see in Supreme Court, they may hear, but they must also revive that petition suo moto on their own, where they say they will not have a complete ban on the documentary. Both these petitions should be simultaneously heard. Otherwise, it will be a one-way hearing in the court. Therefore, what I want today is that if a court can open in the midnight for a terrorist, if it can go into various other questions, please remember, for an ordinary person, if the nation is first, then comes everything. Then even for Supreme Court, nation is first, and they are there to protect the nation.
Hello and welcome to the Business Today show. I'm Udayan Mukherjee. Not very long ago, Western consumers would scoff at spirits made out of India. I mean, they just wouldn't believe that India can produce good whiskies or good gins or good rums or good vodka. But all that has changed over the last few years. First, we had a few Indian whiskies which made ripples in the Western world. Then some craft gins got launched. And now the company which is taking huge strides in this space is the homegrown Radico Khaitan. With its brands like Rampur Single Malt and Jaisalmer Craft Gin, it's actually creating quite a bit of excitement among Western audiences. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Abhishek Khaitan, Managing Director and CEO of Radico Khaitan on the Business Today show. Abhishek, great to see you in, and thank you very much for joining me today.
Thank you, Udayan, and great to have you back in the media again. Thanks a lot, Udayan.
Thank you. And as I was saying, these days there's a lot of excitement in the Western world with the Indian homegrown brands. But for somebody who's been a big bull on branded liquors, even someone like you, are you surprised at the kind of excitement and the reception that some of your premium brands have got in the Western world?
See, actually, if you see how the Western world is behaving, even if you see the wine industry, earlier it was only French wines, but the new age wines are taking over. As far as malts also, if you see, like the Japanese malts have become so popular worldwide. That is why after achieving success in India, in 2016, we launched our Rampur Indian single malt. And today the kind of response what we have got from the Western world, it's absolutely amazing. And in fact, we've launched 7 expressions of Rampur. And our most expensive expression is the Chairman Reserve, which we are retailing at $2,000 a bottle. And the demand is so much that we cannot supply. And it's absolutely proud to see the Indian single malts getting such response in the Western world.
It's not just a qualitative appreciation, Abhishek, either. The kind of pricing that you're achieving compared to some of the well-established malts in the Western world, that is also a bit of surprising, because one would say that a new entrant into the malt market like India would price at a discount, but you're actually able to achieve a pricing premium, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because we've done a lot of there are a lot of write-ups about our single malts, the quality of malts what we are producing. So people want to experiment, and like if you see our 7 expressions are all unique. Like our Asava is matured in a wine cask. Then we've come out with a Jugalbandi, which is priced at $400 a bottle. So the various expressions which we have come have a unique character and a unique taste, which I think the Western world is really liking it.
But what you said a while back is also interesting, that demand for your products is outstripping supply, which brings me to the supply point. Will you be able to find enough stock to supply or cater to this demand, or will that always be a bit of a struggling point?
See, that's a very good question. In fact, about 6 years back when we launched, we had invested a lot into a malt maturation and malt plants, which should get operational in the coming year. And hopefully our volume should triple in this current fiscal. And we have again invested in our malt maturation facility, and we hope that in the next 4 to 5 years the volume should triple from today's level. But the demand for our single malts is really encouraging. So I don't know whether we'll be able to keep pace with the demand. Right now, even India itself is such a huge market, and we have not been able to address the Indian market also.
But one had always the impression that malts could not be brought readily to the market. I mean, they had to be aged for 10 years, 12 years, sometimes even more, 18 years. And therefore, that process limits the kind of supply which can hit the market. Has that changed over the years?
No, it has to mature, and it takes a long time. That is what we said, that last about 6 years back we had invested in our capex, which we will get the fruits now. And in fact, if you see the angel share in India, the malt matures much faster, because the angel share in Scotland is about 2%, whereas the angel share in India is about 12%. So the malt matures 4 times faster in India compared to the Western world.
Would you be open to acquisitions of smaller distilleries in the Western world to address this supply problem, or is your chosen path to actually do the backward integration and make the malts in India or mature them?
See, our malts are Indian single malts. So our unique selling point is that it is from India. So acquiring a distillery in Scotland dilutes the issue of an Indian single malt. So we would not be doing for that purpose. We would be investing in our own capacities, which we have done already. And as far as acquiring a distillery, we also have our premium spirits like our 8 p.m. black whiskey, etc., where we use the spirits from abroad. For that, maybe in the future we might look at an opportunity. But for the single malt, it will be purely from India.
It's not just whiskey where you're focusing on the premium branded segment, Abhishek. They say these days that gin is the new whiskey, and you're quite excited about Jaisalmer craft gin and the kind of response it's received in the Western world too, right?
Absolutely. In fact, after Rampur Single Malt, we launched our Jaisalmer Indian Craft Gin in 2018, and our Jaisalmer has got a superb response. In fact, it was rated as the top 100 spirits of the world. Plus, it was also rated as the best Asian gin by the Gin Guide Awards. And it has 11 botanicals, out of which 7 are from India. And recently, we've launched Jaisalmer Gold, which has 18 botanicals and is priced at about $45 a bottle for a 500 ml. And in fact, we are using saffron as one of the botanicals, which is one of the most expensive ingredients.
So how is Jaisalmer doing compared to some of the other brands which are popular in India, the international brands like the Hendrix of the world? I mean, can you give us some comparable numbers?
See, as far as India goes, I think Jaisalmer has got a superb response, and in fact, I think our market share would be close to 35% in the imported gin market. And the craze for Jaisalmer is growing stronger day by day. And what we are seeing, Indians are proud to consume Indian products. And our pricing is quite good, like it is priced at about 3,600 rupees a bottle, which is much higher than few of the international brands also.
This is interesting, Abhishek, because not very, even 7-8 years ago, a lot of Indian consumers actually would seek out Western brands. I mean, a premium brand would have been an imported whiskey brand or an imported gin brand. You're saying something has changed in the mind of the consumer where they don't have that hang-up that a great whiskey has to be a Scotch whiskey or whiskey from Scotland. A great gin does not necessarily need to come from outside India.
See, in fact, going back, if you see, gin and tonic was the invention in India only when the Britishers came. So origin of tonic has been from India, and globally, if you see, now people globally want to experiment and they feel the quality of products from India is absolutely at world class. And also what in Radico we have done, the kind of spirits we are producing is absolutely the best. To give you an example, we had launched Magic Moment Vodka in 2006. That's where our premiumization drive had started. And we are very happy that today is the largest selling vodka in the country. And in fact, we have a market share of 60% across the entire vodka category. And globally, it is the 12th largest selling vodka in the world. And in fact, we are now exporting to 80 countries. And as far as our Rampur and Jaisalmer goes, we are available in 40 countries and 18 duty-frees.
Is there any plan to go further up the premium ladder in the vodka space? I mean, launch something which can be comparable to a Grey Goose out there, or at least an absolute vodka in terms of pricing?
See, recently we've launched Dazzle, which is upgraded, which is a superior, which is better than Magic, like it's a upper thing of Magic. And that is kind of at the absolute pricing. But definitely going forward in the next couple of years, we have planned to address the super premium market also. And in fact, like if you see vodka in the global market, 30 to 35% of the global market is vodka. Whereas in India, only when I started the vodka, it was only 2%. Now it is close to about 4%. And seeing the vodka consumers, if you see, are basically women and the younger generation, which if you see India's demographics, we are skewed towards that. So I think there's a huge potential in the vodka category.
What about beer? That also seems to be a large category. Radico has not addressed it so far with the kind of thrust that you have on the spirits end. Is beer part of the equation for you?
Beer is like it's a different industry, and IMFL, like the alcohol industry itself, is so huge, and there is so much of scope of premiumization, and you can have different price points, and your margins are much higher. Whereas in beer, a lot of capex is needed, and you cannot have price differentiation beyond a point. So as far as Radico is concerned, we never had any plans of beer, nor we will get into beer.
Okay.
Because it's too competitive.
Fair enough. So give us a sense of how quickly or how fast each of these markets are growing, where you see the biggest opportunity between whiskey, gin and vodka.
No, are you talking for India or you are talking overseas?
Both, for your brands.
See, as far as India goes, what we have seen that the premiumization drive is continuously happening, and especially after COVID, people have got used to drinking superior products because that time your institutional sales were less, so people were consuming alcohol in the house, and there they were paying much lesser what they would pay in the institutions. So they've got used to drinking much superior products, and especially with the income levels rising and the aspirations rising, people want to consume better quality products. So we are seeing a huge growth in the premiumization, and as far as the category goes, whiskey is by far the largest category, and but the white spirits are gaining pace very at a faster rate. Like vodka is growing faster than any of the other categories. In fact, in the current year, our vodka has grown by about 35%, and even the whiskey we have been addressing, where we launched our 8 p.m. Premium Black, which we launched it in 2018, and today we are close to about 3 million cases.
No, that's your biggest success story, Abhishek.
I will say white spirits is number one.
8 p.m. is your biggest success story. So I want to ask, I mean, going forward, say if you look out 4 or 5 years, what is going to be the mix of these mass market or semi-premium brands, which are your big volume leaders, versus the top end that you're creating with Rampur and Jaisalmer? What would be the mix like?
See, I'll go on the mix on the P&A side, that is prestige and above. So currently 30% of my volume is prestige and above, and in terms of value it is 50%, and I feel in the next 5 years the 30% in terms of volume should be 40%, and in terms of value it should be 65%, whereas the luxury brands would not be so much in volumes, but as far as contribution goes, it will be a large portion of Radico's portfolio.
How large in terms of numbers?
See, right now to give a sense of numbers would be a little difficult for me, but it will be substantial. It will be very substantial.
So you see
because
that as
the way we are experiencing growth in the gin, we have 7.
Go ahead.
So as we saw about our gin, and we launched 7 expressions of Rampur, and we have lot more products which are in the pipeline in the luxury segments. So it'll be a very good portion as far as the contribution part of Radico goes.
So it has some margin and profitability rub-off as well. It's not just to create some prestige and aura around the Radico brand that you're pursuing this top end of the market.
Absolutely. It's going to be a major portion for our profitability going forward, and especially now with the capacity of Rampur increasing in the current year to 3 times, and in the next about 3 to 4 years, it will go up to about double from this year. So once the volume keeps coming in, I think sales is not an issue. So the profitability also definitely will be much higher for Radico.
Bonnie Kapoor took to social media to announce that the biography on his late wife and actress Sridevi is in the works and will release later this year. Speaking about the same, he called his late wife a force of nature. Titled as The Life of a Legend, the book will feature the key aspects of Sridevi's life and career. It will be published by Westland Books. The actor had passed away in 2018, leaving a void in the industry. And on her 5th death anniversary, her popular film English Winglish is set to release in China. The drama marked Sridevi's comeback to films after a long hiatus of 15 years.
English tuition? I can come in?
You may not. You need to ask, may I come in?
English Winglish had gone on to become India's official entry to the Academy Awards in the Best Foreign Language Film category for 2013. The story of the film revolved around a housewife who decided to take up English lessons in the US after being mocked by her husband and daughter.
She was born to make laddu.
I, Shashi, from the India.
No, Sashi, not from the India. From India.
Why India, not the India? Why America? The United States of America.
In her illustrious filmic career, Sridevi had acted in as many as 300 films.
I think there's an opportunity for India particularly to work with the United States and others.
India is has the largest vaccine manufacturer in the world.
I thought if it's blowing in the wind, it's best I'm on the motorcycle. And I did 15,000 kilometers in 36 days.
Rich countries have a particular obligation to exercise their investment in innovation.
I believe that global business has the money and the power.
Improvements in the way we understand the importance of education and healthcare.
You have a greater chance of killing yourself than of being killed by any soldier or terrorist or criminal.
Let me ask you a different question. Abhishek, you are launching these prestige brands, but there are lots of smaller companies which are coming out with interesting products. Particularly, if you go to Goa, there are these craft gins which are coming up. They are not huge in size. And we saw that Greater Than Gin was quite a success before Diageo bought a stake in that company. Have you considered the option of picking up some of these smaller brands, or does it make more sense for you to build rather than buy?
Radico, personally, and Radico, we've always believed in innovation. And even if you see our history, when we launched our first brand in 1998, we are the only company which has organically created all the brands. Today we have 5 millionaire brands, and in the coming year, hopefully, we are going to add 2 more millionaire brands. So we'll have total 7 million cases brands in our portfolio. So we believe in organic creation rather than buy. So for us, our passion is to create brands with a unique standing in the market and a very different character. So we would not be looking at acquiring brands. In fact, we will be looking at creating newer segments and newer brands.
The one question which keeps coming up is for Radico, for investors of yours, and they have done quite well with your stock over the last many years, is that as you do this expansion, and you are clearly on a significant expansion mode, could the balance sheet get stretched once again? Because in the last few years, you've actually cut down your debt, which was a problem area, but now no longer is. But as you keep on adding capacity and launching new brands, are your current cash flows enough to drive that expansion, or would you need to load up that balance sheet once again?
If you see, in 2016, we had a peak debt of 960 crores. And last year, our debt was about 160. And in fact, our working capital also, we pumped in about close to 400 crores from internal accruals. So we are totally deleveraged. And going forward, we have doubled our capacity because the demand is so high. So we have increased the capacity in Rampur. We have put a greenfield plant in Sitapur, which would be one of the largest plants in Asia. And going forward, I don't think so debt would be an issue, because in the next 3 to 4 years, we'll be again debt free, because the kind of cash flows the company will throw and the kind of things we are seeing in the future. So debt we don't see as an issue at all.
The fact that raw material prices have been under pressure, do you see this kind of commodity inflation compressing your margins and profitability, which might lead to a challenge in the servicing of the debt or further repayment of debt going forward?
No, see, all this inflation, etc., are short-term issues. So we are working, and we've got price increases in few of the states, and hopefully we'll get more price increases. And I think going forward with our premiumization drive, in the next couple of years, our EBITDA margin should be in the late teens. And also, we don't see with all this, even the backward integration, what we have done, I think very soon we'll come to the pre-COVID level margins.
You know, I spoke about greater than and them selling to Diageo. Is that ever an option for you, Abhishek? If one of the global liquor giants approached you with an offer to buy a part stake in your company or to partner with you, would you ever consider it seriously?
See, I've gone through the biggest struggle of my life, you know, when we had no money and we created brands. And that time also everyone asked me the question, but as of today, in Radico needs no partners at all. And as of now, we do not intend either a partnership with a global firm or selling out. We believe in the India story, and I feel we believe that if we can create a Rampur single malt Jaisalmer craft gin, there's a huge opportunity. And cash is not an issue for our company. So going forward, our aim and passion is to build brands which the world can be proud of. And it comes from the India's stable. That's why if you see all my brands are named after India, like whether it is a Rampur, whether it is a Jaisalmer. Recently we have launched Royal Ranthambore. In fact, we'll be the first Indian whiskey to be launched at the Scotch pricing. And the brand has got a tremendous response. So we'll continue doing our effort of creating Indian ethnic brands.
But back in the 90s, when Radico was going through a difficult time, I remember there was some talk of a gentleman named Vijay Mallya being interested in your company, in acquiring the company or a stake. Can you tell us how that story went?
No, we've been getting offers, you know, in the 90s from various companies to acquire a stake. And that time we were looking at an option, but I think in the last about 5-6 years or 7 years, we have not looked at an option at all, because the company has grown from strength to strength. And we keep getting offers, but we have no intention of diluting our stake or selling out.
What is your ambition finally, Abhishek, with Radico? I mean, when you look out, say, 7-8 years or even 10 years, I mean, what's your vision? Where do you want to take Radico?
See, what I feel, the way how the company has progressed in the last 2 decades, now I feel it's the time for Radico. And luckily now we do not have any balance sheet pressure or any pressure of finance. So I think in the next 5 to 7 years, we want to create brands which the world would acknowledge, like what has happened with our Rampur, Jaisalmer, and we'll keep increasing our premiumization drive. And as far as the margins as you go higher, your margin also increases.